Tonight, the Diamondbacks are in America's finest city, and 3 Padres make it to the Midsummer Classic. Plus, guess who's back? Mr. Darvish set to make his debut today. What's it all mean for Mike Shildt and the fellas? Let's find out with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego, Southern California, what's going on? Hour 1, getting you ready for a busy week. We've got a really good show lined up for you. Chris Garagiola, radio voice for the Diamondbacks, are in town. He will join us at 3:30. Kyle Glazer used to be with Baseball America. Awesome resource for Padres fans, baseball fans. He'll join us at 4. Kevin Acee from Petco will be on the show at 5:30 here this afternoon. We'll hear from AJ Preller coming up. Jim, Padres do what they had to do. You just said it in the update. They took 2 of 3 from the Rangers. They're a week away from the All-Star break. We talked about the possibility of the 6-4 homestand. So far, so good. Not perfect. Overcame a deficit Friday. Lost Saturday with you in the building, obviously.
Of course.
And then Sunday, they bounce back and they overcome an early deficit and win 4-1. So there's a lot to get into. All-Star game. The 3 Padres that have been selected. We'll hear from AJ Preller. But overall, a good start to the homestand. We'll see if that continues against a struggling Diamondbacks team beginning tonight.
Yeah, they did what they needed to do. You're not looking for a 10-game winning streak here to end your first half. You would love that. Don't get me wrong. Everyone would take that in a second, but it's not realistic. And so 6-4 in a 10-game homestand at worst, that's what they need to do. You go into the break 8 games up, you feel really good, and AJ Preller is ready to pounce. He is ready to buy. He's looking at multiple bats. We'll hear from AJ Preller coming up in a bit, but taking 2 of 3, taking series, no one loves winning series more than Mike Shildt. he absolutely, that's like one thing he loves other than nicknames. He loves to win series, and winning a series against the Rangers, perfect way to start off your homestand. Now you face the D-backs. It's a 4-game series, hard to take 3 of 4, but at worst you split. You take 2 of 3 from Philadelphia over the weekend coming up here, and you have a 6-4 homestand. You feel really, really good about yourself.
It's amazing because, all right, let's hear from Preller, then react, because in one way, it's like the issues still remain with the offense, but in another way, they are 48-41. They are in playoff positioning if the season ended today, and AJ Preller is ready to pounce according to this. This was from MLB Network Radio over the weekend. Take a listen.
But again, I think the biggest thing is, from my standpoint in this chair, we're prepared because we've got great scouts, analysts, staff, coaching staff that, they all participate in the process. We feel like we have a pretty good pulse on the league and who's out there. It doesn't always mean you're going to make great decisions, but I think we're in position, with talented players in our organization, both at the major league and minor league level, to at least be in these conversations. And then you got to, as a GM, evaluate like how realistic it is that your team can win and contend, and then try to weigh that out versus future, and wanting to make sure that's a sustained run. So, we've had the chance here, over the last 5 years to be in 3 playoff runs, and we've had 5 in a row where we've been in the mix till the end. And at the end of the day, we'll look at our team here this year. Getting Darvish King back would be huge. The bullpen's been strong. We've got a lot of different weapons in the pen. We've had some you could add to a strength. And on the offense side, it's probably rounding out the depth of the lineup. I think, like you mentioned, the top of the lineup should be strong. And you look up and you've got a Jake Cronenworth hitting 7th and 8th some nights, but you've got to be deep, 1 through 9. And I think probably adding a bat or 2 is something that we're going to look at here in the next few weeks. To try to help our team get to October.
Oh, a bat or 2.
Showed his hand. He showed
multitude.
I'm holding
a multitude of bats.
Multiple bats.
Multitude of bats.
I mean, it makes sense. This is in Dennis's article today. Since May 14th, I'm saying this. He didn't write this, but the offense has been awful. Yet they're still winning enough. They've hit 229 as a team since May 14th. Their slash line on base and slug is 29th in baseball since May 14th. Isn't that incredible? Nearly 2 months they've been among the worst offenses in the sport, and that makes, Preller, it's like everyone knows your hand. You need to upgrade this offense to be a legitimate threat, not just to get in, but to win in the postseason. You have to upgrade your offense, and we'll see if they can do enough upgrading of that offense in the coming weeks.
That just tells me that their pitching has been really good.
It's been solid.
And yesterday, bullpen masterclass.
Yep.
By this team. It looked like it was going to be one of those nights in the first inning yesterday that Jake Cronenworth makes an amazing diving play to keep it at just a run. And after that, bullpen just cruised. Kyle Hart came in, retired 11 in a row. The back end of your bullpen, Adrian Morejon, All-Star Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Robert Suarez, just lights out. So the pitching has really kept this team afloat while the offense has been a major issue. And it just, imagine if you can get both of them clicking at the same time, then guess what? They're going to look exactly like they looked at the start of the season, where they were 14-3 to start, and they had one of the best records. No, not one of the best records in baseball. And you're going to see this team go on a run if you can get those, the bats going, along with the pitching being as good as it's been. But that's also easier said than done, because how many times have we said in the past, oh, they just got to get everything going at once? You know how hard it is to get everything going at once?
I mean, even this weekend, they take 2 out of 3. They scored 11 runs. They came back from 2-0 down Friday and won on the Cronenworth walk-off. They lost 7-4 on Saturday. Okay, they trailed in that game 7-2. And then yesterday they scored 4 runs. Now they had a lot of 2-out RBI hits yesterday, which was encouraging. Luis Arias has really hit. Xander hasn't come through with men in scoring position, obviously. But he has played better here over the last couple of weeks. But you're right. Like, imagine an offense that complements the pitching. Yu Darvish is coming back tonight. We'll talk about that. We'll see what the expectations are. We'll talk to Kevin Acee and Kyle Glazer about that coming up. But if you can get more, and they don't have to be the best offense, they're not going to be. Last year, top 10 offense. This year, bottom 10 offense. You got to get to the top 15. You got to be an average offense at the worst for me to really believe in this team in the second half of the year and in the postseason. Is it possible? I think it's possible. Fernando, obviously, Merrill, right? I mean, I think it's possible, but we got to see it. And there's some of this idea that they're too talented for this to continue for the whole season. I agree, but they've played more games than they have remaining. So if you're too talented, they've played too poorly for too long. 90 games where you've got the 23rd or 24th best offense. It's time for Merrill, Tatis, the entirety of this offense to be better than they've been to this point.
And the crazy part is they're getting it done while Jackson Merrill is going through a massive slump right now, while Fernando Tatis Jr. continues to hit, almost 200. He's had 2 home runs or 3 home runs since the start of May. They aren't getting anything from their other players. Their catching position sucks offensively, and yet they are staying afloat, winning series. And, they played a pretty decent series against the Rangers here. If they just got 1 hit with runners in scoring position on Saturday night with the bases loaded, it's a completely different game. But they couldn't do it. And in part, it's because Xander Bogaerts this year with the runners in scoring position has been awful. Mm-hmm. And especially with the bases loaded, he's been just really bad. But they continue to get it done. And you just think man, if Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. or if just one of those guys right now could get red hot, along with what Manny's been doing this year, along with what Luis Arias has been doing recently, who's red hot, man, just imagine what this team could be doing. But yet we're still waiting for those things to happen. And while we're waiting for those things to happen, at least the team is still winning at a good enough clip to stay, in it, to where we know AJ Preller is going to be making not just a move at the deadline, I would say multiple moves at the deadline.
It's just crazy that I watch the ESPN broadcast. I'm listening, and they're like, the reason this team isn't as good as last year's team. And I'm thinking to myself, well, last year's team wasn't as good as this year's team at this time.
Yeah.
Last year's
all
team
context
was really struggling at this point in the season, to the point they were 50-50 about 2 weeks from now.
They're in the midst of a losing 6 of 7 to end the first half.
Break. Yeah, I mean, they were really struggling. So this idea that this year's team isn't as good as last year's team, with context, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I mean, it's basically, what do you do over 162 and then in the postseason? Are they going to be as good in the second half? That's going to be hard. But as we continue to say, they don't have to go 43-19 like they did last year. Because if you're 48-41 and then eventually you're 55-45, you don't have to play like that to get to 90 wins.
Yeah, and that's why the next couple of weeks here are so important, so you don't put yourself in this position like you had last year, where you had to rip off, the best stretch in franchise history. If you take care of business now, which so far so good on the homestand, take care of business now, don't completely crater in the 10-game road trip coming out of the break. Go 5-5. And then you come home to face the Mets right before the All-Star break. You take 2 or 3 there. And guess what? You are in a way better position than you were last year. And you don't have to put yourself in we have to go, X and whatever and have the best record in franchise history over a 2-month span. So look, it's almost like a game by game thing with this team, really. Like when they're good, but they can be Jekyll and Hyde sometimes. One night they can look great. And the next couple nights they just look like they can't, they don't know how to score runs. They can't hit with runners in scoring position and whatnot. But overall, it's a good start to the 10-game homestand for this team. And I think one of the stats that is pretty telling for just this year's club is their record against teams sub 500 and their record versus teams over 500. Mm-hmm. And I saw this breakdown today from letters from AJ, or letters to AJ, excuse me, on social media. Like, oh, well, they're only losing games to good teams by just a couple runs. They're not getting blown out. A loss is a loss in my book. All right. It's, margins, they're very tiny, but still those margins can be the difference between making the postseason and not making the postseason. And no one's going to say, oh, man, they were so close to making the postseason. If you look at the record versus teams above 500 and say, well, their average margin of loss versus teams above 500 was like 1.4 runs or something. No one cares.
Well, they can make the postseason being awful against teams over 500. The question is, can they win in the postseason playing poorly against teams over 500? They've cleaned up against bad teams.
32-11.
Yeah, so they're cleaning up against bad teams. And by the way, maybe they're only losing by an average of 1 or 2 runs, but they're only winning by now. I mean, their strength of this team, we said, what's the strength of this team? It's so obvious. The strength of their team is their bullpen. It was on display yesterday. I mean, it's so obvious. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings. Basically a bullpen game to perfection yesterday. Mm-hmm. Kyle Hart comes in, you mentioned it, 11 up and 11 down. So we'll talk more about it. Yu Darvish makes his return tonight. What can we expect? What will his pitch count be? Plus, the Padres get not 1, not 2, but 3 All-Stars. Were they deserving or not? Kevin Acee on the show at 5:30. Chris Garagiola calls games for the Diamondbacks. He'll join us at 3:30. Kyle Glazer's on the show at 4 p.m. We're just getting started. Jon and Jim, stay with us. All right, San Diego Sports 760 is 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday. It's the Bonus Bucks giveaway. Listen for the keyword entered at sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 coming up 3 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760. Kyle Glazer, formerly Baseball America, will join us at 3 p.m. Chris Garagiola calls games for the Diamondbacks 3:30. Kevin Acee at 5:30. Yu Darvish. We have not seen him since October of last year, Jim. It was in Game 5 of the NLDS at Dodger Stadium. He will make his return tonight. We'll hear from Mike Shildt in a moment, but Yu Darvish is back. What do you expect?
Well, I expect 75 pitches tonight. I don't know if
hit.
I don't think he's going to throw a complete game
in 75 pitches.
Yeah, no.
Could.
I think we're just going to see it's going to be just like a regular Yu Darvish start. 5 innings, couple earned runs maybe. I hope he looks sharp. I really don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I don't know what to expect because this injury that he has dealt with has gone on for a long time. It's up and down. And I don't have much faith that he is going to be healthy for the rest of the year. Hope I'm wrong. I just don't feel like he's just all of a sudden going to come back and be great. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but the injury has just been it's just been a weird saga.
I think it's more about how he bounces back, to your point, than how he looks tonight. Like, I'm with you. I would expect him to look hopefully like Darvish. I mean, even a year ago, had the personal issues. He had a 3.31.
Very good.
16 starts. He made 16 starts for this team, had a 3.31, was effective in the postseason. So nobody's really questioning his effectiveness. People are questioning whether he can stay healthy.
Yeah. They want to know, hey, can you finish the rest of the season healthy in the rotation? Or is there going to be a hiccup where after a start, you all of a sudden don't feel right and you got to shut it down? So I said this weeks ago, whenever Yu Darvish comes back, to me, after every start, it's a hold your breath. And that you hope that he makes his next start and you hope that he feels good and you hope that he can get through the rest of the year. Because if he can get through the rest of the season and he can pitch like he did last year, a 3.3 ERA, that's a huge upgrade for this rotation. And it would lessen the pressure on AJ Preller to go out and make a move for a pitcher at the deadline. Now, Michael King, we'll talk about that later in the show, but Kevin's reporting that he's not expected to even start or return until at the earliest next month. So I think pitching will regardless be something AJ Preller is going to look for at the deadline. But you get Yu Darvish back for the rest of the year and he's healthy and he can throw up a 3.3 ERA for you. Dude, that is just a massive boost for your rotation. A rotation that has Dylan Cease in a down year, has questions at the back, and really only one reliable guy right now in Nick Pivetta.
Yeah, so we'll see if Darvish looks like Darvish or not. This was Mike Shildt on MLB Network Radio discussing Yu Darvish making his 2025 debut.
Super pumped about getting Darvish back. Clearly a big part of our club for a lot of reasons. The every fifth day part, obviously, but just the presence, the experience, everything that a guy that's got 203 combined wins, 110 big league wins. I think those guys bring a lot to the table, man. They got a presence, so we're glad to have him back. As far as tonight goes, he's back, and his last outing was 461. So, we'll evaluate how he's looking, how he's feeling. My guess is that he'll be in that 4 to 5, 70, 75 if he's working efficient pitch range.
Which I think is, that's fairly encouraging if you get 4 or 5 innings out of Yu Darvish. The good news is yesterday, yes, it was a bullpen game, but it went according to order.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't have to turn to anyone you didn't want to turn to. Kyle Hart's a starter. They turned to him for a lion's share of the innings, then 1 inning apiece. So guys can bounce back. So if he gives you 4 or 5 innings, I think the bullpen should be fine tonight.
I think everything fell into place starting on Saturday night. Saturday night was let's wait and see how this game plays out. If we have to use our top guys and we have to use, Darvish, or not Darvish, but Morahone and Adam and Estrada and Suarez, and, maybe we start Darvish on Sunday instead. Mm-hmm. But they used none of those guys on Saturday night. So they had all those guys ready for yesterday. And I think it worked out beautifully for them, especially because Kyle Hart, not many people are talking about Kyle Hart. Yesterday, he was the hero of the game.
Absolutely.
Because without the length that Kyle Hart gave you, it's a little dicey. You're running a bullpen game followed by a Darvish outing that he's on a strict pitch limit. So if things get kind of wonky for Darvish today in like the third inning and you realize that's 70 pitches, he's getting yanked. And luckily, yesterday went according to plan. So now I think they feel pretty comfortable pitching Darvish today, even though they had a bullpen day yesterday, because the bullpen is relatively fresh, all things considered.
Do you worry about this whole controlled environment thing? Like in his rehab, he only really made one rehab start. And that's when he was shut down. That was that AAA start in Vegas. He was shut down. Then they've ramped it up with these simulated games, this controlled environment. Does that concern you at all? Or does Darvish know Darvish best and he's good to go and forget about rehabs? He's ready to get back out there, 75 pitches moving forward.
No, because the main thing with Darvish is how does he feel after he throws at full speed? It's not about, he's pitched a million games in his career. I'm not worried about that at all. Pitching to live hitters, like it doesn't matter as long as the main thing is, does he feel good after his starts? What do you think? Do you think that it matters or not?
Ask me after the game. I just want to see what he looks like. I mean, is he going to be fully rusty? Honestly, he should have some amount of rust. That's completely normal to expect. He hasn't pitched at a big league mound in 9 months? So there'll be a level of rust. I think, to your point, he's capable of giving you 4+ innings. He could labor through it potentially, but it's Yu Darvish. He's made hundreds of starts in his career. I think he'll be fine.
I'm not worried one bit about him going out there and throw. What I'm worried about the most is how he feels after.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right. Padres get multiple All-Stars. How many of them deserved it? That's on the other side. Plus, Kyle Glazer will join us at 3 p.m. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This update is brought to you by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Padres started off their 10-game homestand the right way, taking 2 of 3 from the Rangers. Next up, they'll take on the D-backs for a 4-game series starting tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish makes his season debut tonight for the Padres, and SDFC lost a heartbreaker this past Saturday to Houston. Next up, they take on Chicago this upcoming Saturday on the road. 5:30 kickoff time, 5 p.m. pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Is that a weird rattle in your HVAC system? The sound of expensive guessing? Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air will give you 3 real options guaranteed, or your visit is free. Nobody wows clients like we do. AndersonPHA.com.
All right, Kyle Glazer will join us at 3 p.m. Friar Territory podcast. Chris Garagiola calls games for the Diamondbacks. Will join us at 3:30. Kevin Acee at 5:30. So it's official. Machado joined by Jason Adam and Fernando Tatis Jr. as all-stars for the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr. having to change his plans. He told the media postgame he had booked a mini vacation, expecting not to be named an all-star. Which kind of tells you about his all-star candidacy if he had already booked a mini vacation.
Kind of very telling there.
It's pretty telling. I just looked it up. I mean, for whatever it's worth, there's 2 sides to the story. The overall body of work is good for Tatis. He's top 10 in a number of statistical categories for outfielders. But if you look at what he's done since May 1st, which is now the lion's share of the season, right? Not the first month, the next 2. Since May 1st, he has hit 218. He has an on base of 328, which considering a 218 batting average is good. And then he has, this is what has really stuck out to me. His slug is 364, which is so low.
How many at bats?
By his standards. This is 256 plate appearances, 220 at bats.
That's a lot.
And his on base plus slugging, his OPS, is 692. Okay, for Tatis in 58 games. He makes the All-Star team. I mean, we reacted to this last night, but again, if you missed it, I mean, what do you make of this? I mean, he didn't truly think he was going to be on the team. You could argue his deservedness, if it's a word, based on what he did the first month of the season, but he's at 218 over his last 58 games.
We all love Tatis. We want him to perform like he was performing at the start of the season. When he is on, he's one of the most exciting players in the sport. He can bring so much energy to a team by just one swing of the bat. We have not seen that consistently for the last 2.5 months. I'm sorry, he's not an all-star. It's great that he got selected, selected by his peers. It's awesome. It's a great accomplishment for Fernando to get, another all-star nod. This is now his 3rd all-star nod in his career. And those things matter at the end of your career. Like, how many all-star appearances did you have?
Agree.
And so for him, that's great. Make an all-star team. That's awesome. Hopefully this, ups his mood and he now won't be so sad anymore because of his struggles. And hopefully this propels him into a great second half. But if I'm just being as honest as I can be, he's not an all-star. I'm sorry. He's not. Now it is funny because you see Dodger fans getting all butthurt that Andy Paez didn't make the all-star team. So if Tatis making the all-star team blocked out Andy Paez from making the all-star team, then you know what? That is a massive win. And I love it from that standpoint because nothing's better than watching Dodger fans cry about, Andy Paez didn't make the all-star team. If Tatis blocked him from doing that, that's great. But then you get to Soto. Yeah, it's a win. Then you get to Soto and you're like, in what world would Fernando Tatis Jr. be an all-star over one-star this year? Can anybody explain that to me other than defensive metrics?
I mean, Soto's got a 900 OPS. He's hit 21 home runs. It's a good point. I wish we had the sound. I heard this live Saturday night. I couldn't believe the admission that Mike Shildt made. He didn't mean to do it. It was Kyle Glazer, I believe, that asked the question. And Kyle will join us at 3:30. But this was the response. Kyle basically said, hey, he's hit 200 for 7 weeks. What do you make of these struggles? He said, I don't want to make excuses for anybody, but I wish he'd, just not carry so much on himself and feel like he's got to do so much. And then he went on to say, I wish that for all of our guys when they struggle a little bit, as if to backtrack it. But I found it to be a pretty honest admission from Shildt. I don't know if he meant to say it or not, but he says he wishes he didn't carry so much on himself and feel like he's got to do so much. Tatis then later said that, either yesterday in the broadcast or postgame, something like, you can't hit a 4-run home run when there's nobody on base. Like, you don't have to be anyone other than yourself. And I don't know what it is, Jim. We've talked about this so much. If it's the hit by pitch by Mitch Keller, I think that's giving him a little too much like bailout. If it's all mental, that's probably going too far. Is it a combination of things? I think it is. But like, Tatis has to be better over the next 2+ months. He can't be this identical player for the Padres. He's got to look more like the player we saw in April. Simple as that.
And he had a great game yesterday, by the way.
He reached base like 4 times safely, I think.
Yeah, it was a great start to hopefully a much better second half of the season for him. And hopefully the All-Star game nod gave him confidence. Like, you know what? I am one of the best players in the sport. I can do this. And if it really truly is a lot of mental that's going into his struggles here, hopefully this turns him around. Hopefully him making the All-Star team gives him the confidence that he needs to turn this thing around, because they're gonna need him. They can't have him hit, 215 or whatever it is for the next 2 months. They just cannot have that. They need Tatis at some point to get hot again. They're gonna need him if they want to make the postseason. This team does not get to where they want to get to without Fernando Tatis Jr. So again, did he deserve to make the All-Star team? In my opinion, no. Are you going to throw defensive metrics at me and his overall WAR is the reason why he should make the All-Star team? Okay. Well, to me, I've watched Fernando Tatis Jr. play baseball for the entire season. And if you truly believe he's an All-Star, I don't know what to tell you.
Again, I think if he looked himself in the mirror, he would tell you he hasn't been an All-Star this year. And I think that's why he booked his little mini vacation.
Right.
I mean, how do you hit? So through the first 29 games of the year, he hit 345. His on base was 409. His slug was 602. His OPS was 1,011. And then the numbers I just told you, everything is flipped. The next 58 games, he's got a sub 700 OPS. We know it's in there.
It's there.
We've seen the 29 games. We saw last year's postseason. We've seen all kinds of glimpses and flashes, and even 2021. You're going back now.
Yeah.
On 2021. But we know he can do this over 29 games. Maybe that started last night.
I hope so. I just hope this gives him the confidence that he needs. Mike Shildt kind of admitting he gets too much in his head when he struggles.
Yeah.
Like, I know. Thanks for at least admitting that, Mike, because we all see it. We all see how Fernando wears his emotions on his sleeve and how it kind of affects him to the point where you look at his numbers and it's really hard to say that the mental side of it hasn't played a huge role in this thing.
What'd you make of what he said post-game last night, that he wouldn't appear in the home run derby because he's dealing with oblique soreness? I forget exactly what he said, oblique tightness or soreness, and that would prevent him from being in the home run derby.
Quote, oblique soreness.
As if, like, leave me alone. I'm not doing that. I got enough going on.
Yeah.
I'm not touching that thing.
I feel the last thing that you'd want to do if you're a struggling player that's hit, 2 home runs in 2 months is to be in the home run derby.
Yeah, completely. It's dangerous for
yeah.
guys that are like playing unbelievable. Right? It's dangerous when a guy's hitting 400 over the last month of a season. He says, I wish I could, but I've been getting cramps around my oblique, so I'm not going to take the chance. I feel like it's more important for me to stay healthy, and now it's going to be really 3 more months to make this thing special.
Okay, well, I hope last night was the turning point of his season. Make the All-Star team when he truthfully probably didn't deserve it. He even booked a vacation, so he didn't think amazing. He didn't even think he was going to make it. Like you said, it tells you all you need to know right there.
Yep.
Has a great game. Hopefully this is the turnaround, because they're gonna need Fernando to start hitting. Defensively he's been great, but to me, I would much rather have, if you were to pick one or the other, offensively, I need Fernando Tatis Jr. to be much, much better offensively. Defensively, he's been really, really good. Probably one of the best defensive right fielders in the game. But I'm sorry, to me, the most valuable part of Tatis's game is his bat.
Yeah, he didn't get 340 for his defense. There's no statute contract for defense. The guy's an awesome defensive player. And I think he gets a lot of his F-WAR or B-WAR credit 100%. For his defense. Ha-Seong Kim.
Yep, it's awesome.
Would be a good example. I mean, Ha-Seong Kim has gotten paid maybe off his overall body work. He's a very good defensive player. Fernando Tatis Jr., take nothing away from it. He is a very good defensive player. And it is true what Mike Shildt says. He impacts games in multiple ways. He is a good base runner. He does have a good eye. He has gotten on base at a good clip. And maybe it's too simple to just be like he hasn't hit home runs, but like some of it is like you're going to have to hit some home runs too. Like you're going to have more doubles. He had one last night. Yeah, thankfully, but more doubles and triples and home runs. I mean, that's what Fernando Tatis Jr. That's the Fernando Tatis Jr. we've all come to know and love. We don't want to see 20 home run hitting Fernando Tatis Jr. No. We want to see 40 home run hitting Fernando Tatis Jr.
Now, I don't expect him to hit 40 home runs.
Not this year.
I truthfully don't even expect him to hit 30 plus home runs this year unless he gets really hot. Like his trajectory right now is what?
25,
26, 27. I mean, at the most.
Yeah, based on how he's played the last 2 months. Yeah.
And if you told me 3 years ago Tatis would be just a 27 home run guy a year, I'd be like, excuse me? What?
He hit like 10 out of the gates.
I know.
Or so it felt, right?
He was on pace to have 40 plus home runs this year.
Absolutely.
Very early on though, but still he was pacing for that. And he hasn't had a major injury this year to miss a bunch of time.
As far as we know, not to miss time. You're right.
You know, I get it. The shoulder, he missed a game in Sacramento because of it. Hit on the forearm in Pittsburgh. He missed a game? Maybe 2. I don't even know.
Other guys have been hit.
Yeah, I just don't, and I see this around there, and I just don't want to make excuses for guys that aren't performing. Why do we have to do that all the time? Why can't we just say, hey, he's struggling, he needs to be better, instead of trying to make an excuse for guys nonstop when they're struggling? Like Jackson Merrill's struggling right now. Are we going to make an excuse for him or just say flat out he needs to be better? Fernando Tatis Jr. has been struggling. Are we going to use the excuse that he's got a couple hit by pitches, or are we going to say, look, he needs to be better? I tended to go the lean towards the side of, hey, guys need to be better.
Jake Cronenworth broke his ribs. I missed time, but like, how has that impacted him? Or Manny Machado, he fouls balls off his feet constantly.
Yeah.
He misses no time. There's no way Machado is quote unquote healthy in watching these games. There's just no way he's fully healthy, yet he's able to overcome it.
Yeah. Stop with the excuse making for these guys. If they're out there, guess what? They're expected to perform, and everyone deals with injuries and they're playing through stuff. Manny Machado's done that his entire career and he still posts.
Yep.
So what's the excuse for Fernando Tatis Jr.? What's the excuse for Jackson Merrill? Are we going to say that they've been playing with, broken wrists and whatever for the entire season? Well, then they're hurting their team.
No, if you play, you got to produce.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If you play, you have to produce. And Fernando Tatis Jr., he looks healthy to me. I'm watching him in the field.
Looks healthy to me.
He looks healthy enough.
Yeah, there is no excuse right now other than the fact that he's just struggling.
And what Shildt said, which is like he gets too down on himself, essentially. And hopefully that doesn't happen in the second half of the year. Do the Padres need to add pitching? Michael King will not return, according to Kevin Acee, until at least August. Do the Padres need to add pitching? Kyle Glazer, Friar Territory Podcast. He will join us at 3 p.m. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right. If you have not downloaded the iHeartRadio app, download the iHeartRadio app and put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. In fact, if you do that right now, open the app, put 760 in your presets, screen grab it, and then tag @Jon and Jim on X. We will follow you and retweet that. So screen grab that you are following San Diego Sports 760, put us in your presets, screen grab it, put it on X. We will retweet you. We will follow you as well. Everything is there. Every show live, 2 to 6. You can listen back to any show, any interview. Do it on the all-new iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, just make sure you put us in your presets. You can follow the show as well. All of our hours are in podcast form. And if you follow the station and you put us in your presets, you get updates and push notifications on when we're live, when to listen to us, what we're talking about. So it's just the app does everything for you. If you want to stay up to date with the show and the station, just download the iHeartRadio app and put us in your presets.
Open the app, put us in your presets, screen grab it, post it to X and tag Jon and Jim. We'll retweet you and follow you. All right, this from Kevin Acee today in his mailbag, saying that they're optimistic on Michael King's return, but not until at least next month. So Darvish tonight, King hopefully, Jim, next month. That's August, by the way. That's after the trade deadline. So if you're AJ Preller, if you're in his shoes, can you bank on King being King if he's not returning until after the trade deadline? Can you bank on that if you're the GM?
I'm sorry, but there is just no way.
A pinched nerve cost him 3 months?
I can fully believe someone slept wrong and it cost you 2.5 to 3 months of time in a professional sport. I'm sorry.
When was his last appearance?
It was when I was on vacation, so May 24th. May 24th. It's been over 2 months. Or no, sorry.
It was in April.
No,
it was May 18th. His last appearance is May 18th.
Okay, so his last appearance was May 18th. What I meant was he was diagnosed, or at least it was known, or it was told to us that, he slept wrong, and this was on May. He was supposed to make a start on May 24th, but
that's right. He was scratched the day of.
Right.
That's right.
Said he slept wrong.
That's right.
I cannot believe that.
So that's going to be 10 weeks. If it's August 1st, it's 10 weeks from sleeping wrong to returning to the mound. 10 weeks.
Yeah.
If it's the 1st of August.
Like, I slept wrong. I have to miss 3 months of time. Come on.
It really doesn't. I mean, obviously it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
What really has transpired here?
It doesn't matter. No, all that matters is he's missing time. He's out. And he won't be back until at the earliest next month.
Have they done anything with him in terms of like a throwing program or?
Well, if you remember, he threw in the outfield, like briefly, but that means nothing.
That's not throwing program. Like I wonder what the plan is. Like with Darvish, this is taking weeks on weeks on weeks, even with the throwing program,
right? To
get back out there, weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah,
not 2 weeks. Like truly weeks and weeks and weeks to get him back out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many, a lot.
Once he starts his rehab, whenever that is.
What do you add? 4 weeks?
What do you?
Not his rehab, but like his throwing program. Not from a rehab start, but from hey, Michael King's going to start throwing a bullpen.
I was talking more like when he goes on a rehab assignment.
Oh, from rehab assignment, it could be like a week.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But at minimum, I would say 2 rehab outings.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you got to go out there, you have a rehab outing, you rest, see if you're okay. Then you go out and you pitch again. And if you feel good after that, then most likely you're going to be ready for the bigs.
Yeah, it makes sense. But even that is like 2
We are so far away from that.
Yeah, even that. Like you make a rehab on a Monday, you make another rehab on a Saturday or Sunday, and then you return the next Friday or Saturday in the big leagues. That takes 2 weeks.
And to your point, the second that he starts to start his program,
that's the week.
You're looking at a month?
Probably.
And he hasn't started.
And the longer it is, the more time it takes to ramp up. So the longer you are between outings, and now he's 2 months.
And he also has to remember, and I know he knows this, and I'm sure he's had his agent in his ear as well. Being a free agent this upcoming offseason is incredibly important for him and the rest of his career. And if he goes out there and gets injured and re-injure himself this season, that could cost him how much money?
But this is high stakes poker. I agree with you. What would he get if he doesn't pitch again this year? How can you not appear since May 18th and go into free agency and expect to be paid?
No, I get it.
So it's like, I agree with you both ways.
Yeah.
If he comes back and gets hurt, that's a disaster for his free agency. If he doesn't return or comes back for 4 starts and is mildly effective, what does that mean for his free agency? And then the whole idea that he actually signed a 2-year deal. Could he return based on missing 3 months just because he's not going to get the $150 million coming off a 10-start season? Like, does that make it possible that he could actually return for another year based on this? I think
I don't know about that.
If you're Michael King, you got to return. You got to look like Michael King, then you're getting paid.
Yeah.
But you're right. If he returns and gets shut down again, that's going to cost him a lot of money. But if he doesn't return, I wonder if that costs him money too.
And looking at it from the Padres' perspective on like, hey, we need to win.
Yep.
He is, I would say, one of, if not the most important players on this team.
Absolutely.
In the rotation for the pitching side.
Dude, I think he's one of the most important players on the team. End of sentence.
Because without Michael King, and he has to be pitching like he was pitching last year and before he got hurt this year, sleeping wrong, you don't have a shot. I'm sorry.
None.
You don't have a shot because there's no trust from a lot of people with Dylan Cease. Do you trust Dylan Cease out there?
No, especially not in the postseason.
No chance. Nick Pivetta is your number one.
Pavetta's had a great year, but to carry you through 2, 3, 4 playoff rounds.
Yu Darvish has been great in the postseason. Guess what? He's got to get there first.
Yeah.
The team, right. Not only does the team have to get there, he has to get there and be healthy. So when you look at this team's chances, if they don't have a healthy Michael King going into a potential 3-game wild card series, which is what they're going to be playing because they're not winning the division, you know, Michael King, good luck. And if you have to throw like a Stephen Kolek or a Randy Vasquez out there, nah, no shot.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, they have to. I said they have to have Fernando Tatis Jr. in the second half. They got to have Michael King if they get to the postseason. I'm sorry. Starting pitching is everything. We've seen it in the last 3 postseasons for the Padres. They have to get Michael King back. We'll talk about it with Kyle Glazer, Friar Territory podcast on the other side. How does he think Yu Darvish will look tonight in his return? Plus much more. Trade deadline 3 weeks away. Kyle Glazer, Friar Territory podcast. Great resource for Padres fans. Well, join us next on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update is brought to you by Macy's Backstage. Padres start a 4-game series with the D-backs tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish makes his season debut tonight for the Padres. He has about a 75 pitch limit tonight, according to Mike Shildt. And SDFC lost a heartbreaker this past Saturday night at Snapdragon Stadium, 4-3 to Houston. Next up, they'll take on Chicago this upcoming Saturday on the road. 5:30 kickoff time, 5 p.m. pregame. Listen to the match right here on San Diego Sports 760. Macy's Backstage is a whole new floor inside your Macy's store. And right now, you'll find the latest summer styles, all for under $25 with new arrivals every day. You never know what amazing deals you'll find, so don't wait. Find a location at macysbackstage.com.
A nice weekend at Petco.
Ground ball to second. This should do it. Preller gobbles it up. Short throw to first. And the Padres win the rubber game of this series.
Taking 2 of 3 from the Rangers. Tonight, the Diamondbacks are in America's finest city. And 3 Padres make it to the Midsummer Classic. Plus, guess who's back? Mr. Darvish set to make his debut today. What's it all mean for Mike Shildt and the fellas? Let's find out with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2, Jon and Jim. Great to start the hour with Kyle Glazer, Friar Territory podcast. He's been with us so many times over the years, and we appreciate Kyle taking time for us. Truly a great resource for all Padres and baseball fans back with us on San Diego Sports 760. Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ask Mike Shildt? I was listening post-game Saturday. Were you the one that asked Mike Shildt about Fernando Tatis Jr.'s struggles? Because you got a remarkable reaction from Shildt, the candor and the honesty. Was that you that asked that question Saturday night? I should have asked you that before.
That was me indeed, yes.
Okay, so what did you, I mean, you know Mike Shildt in hearing and listening and in speaking with him post-game. What did you make of the candor where he essentially said that Fernando Tatis Jr. is just carrying too much? He's putting too much on himself during these recent struggles.
I think it's something that we all knew, those of us who are covering the team that have been in the clubhouse. He's been wearing this very, very, very heavily. And that's where I've seen some fans on social media or talking on other places, radio call-in, suggesting that Tatis doesn't care. He's going through the motions, and nothing could be further from the truth. This has weighed on him heavily, and it's something where he feels responsible for his lack of performance, and he feels like he's letting the team down. And there have certainly been times where his body language reflects that. And at the end of the day, this is someone who has been a superstar in this league and knows what he's capable of. And hitting .211 over a 7-week stretch, he's searching for answers, trying to figure it out. And it's definitely weighed on him heavily. It was good to see him have a really nice game yesterday, Sunday, especially after being named to the All-Star team. And we'll see if that's something that can just help him breathe a little bit and not feel so much pressure.
So in your opinion, Kyle, what do you think has attributed most to his slump here for the last 2+ months?
Well, he started chasing pitches out of the zone. We saw, especially the first month, his chase rate was way down, his strikeout rate was way down, and the pitches that had been his kryptonite in the past from his prospect days, which were sliders down the way and sinkers below the zone, he was holding up on them. And then he started swinging at them again. And as soon as you start expanding the zone, you just give pitchers that many more opportunities to get you out. And he just kept expanding. And once, that physical mistake happens, it starts getting mental, and he really started to spiral. There was a point where it looked like his plate discipline was tightening up. He was starting to make more consistent contact. He was running again, all good things. And then he got hit on the hand in the Dodgers series, and that kind of set him back. So, we have seen him start to square up some more baseballs, have a little bit better plate discipline, not miss as many hittable pitches. He's got a ways to go, but it was something that started as expanding the zone, a physical issue, and it became a mental issue.
Kyle Glazer with us, Friar Territory podcast, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So as you know, Kyle, on one hand, they're 48-41, which is better than they were a year ago at this time. Of course, they had that remarkable finish. On another hand, Dennis Lynn had this today. You've written about this as well or posted about it. But since May 14th, the Padres offense has been inept. I think they're 29th in baseball across the slash lines. They've hit .229 as a team since May 14th. So can you sustain this type of play with this type of offense? And what can be done with this offense in the second half of the year moving forward?
No, this cannot be sustained. You cannot expect to be a playoff team with a bottom 3 offense in virtually every category: runs scored, on base, slugging, OPS, no matter how good your pitching staff is. Even this last series, they took 2 of 3, but they scored 3 runs, and 4 runs. When you start facing the better teams that have offenses that aren't bottom 5, like the Rangers, that's not going to cut it. So what can they do? Luis Campusano needs to be brought up. He's a potential everyday above average hitter in the big leagues. Scouts are saying he's ready. Padres front office officials, a lot of them think he's ready. He needs to be brought up, inserted in the lineup every day as their DH, and that'll help them, get rid of one hole. But they're going to have to make a trade, at least one and probably 2, depending on who's available and what the price is, whether that's a catcher or a left fielder. They're going to have to make multiple additions, and I also think they need to, improve the bench as well. So first step is bringing up Campusano, putting him in the lineup every day, and second is making 2 trades, maybe 3, to really lengthen, the bench and the lineup as a whole.
And we can all agree that if they make 2 or 3 moves, that will help this team, but it won't fix their main problems, which is the star players need to produce. And Jackson Merrill's going through it right now. What have you seen from him that is attributed to his struggles over the last, month or so, where he hasn't hit a home run, I don't think since May 27th? It's been a long time for him since he had a home run with this team.
Yeah, and he's a little bit of a different case just because he had the hamstring injury and then the concussion, so he's kind of trying to find his rhythm, following those 2 injuries. But similar to Tatis, what's been most notable is he's chasing. The only difference is Tatis is chasing below the zone. Merrill's chasing up in the zone. We've seen him chase a lot of high fastballs, including some at his eyes or even above. We saw him chase a high breaking ball last night. He's really, really, chasing when pitchers are going up the ladder on him. He's going to have to tighten that out because if he keeps swinging through that stuff, pitchers are going to keep attacking him there. And again, this is someone who is a very, very, very fierce competitor, and he's pretty ticked off with his performance. He's made it known he feels like he's not helping the team, and he's trying to find answers. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you swing out of the zone, pitchers are just going to feast on you, and he's got to find a way to stop laying off the stuff that's, above the strike zone, and in some cases even at his eyes or higher.
Kyle Glazer back with us, Jon Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Do you see glimmers of hope for Xander Bogaerts, who continues to struggle with runners in scoring position opportunities, but on the whole has been much better over the last 2 or 3 weeks?
It's good to see he's doing better, and it's certainly a welcome development. I wouldn't take it as, he's about to explode or, he's about to become the Xander Bogaerts the Padres thought they were getting when they signed him to that $280 million deal. That player just isn't there anymore in terms of, bat speed, ability to impact the baseball. Again, he's hitting .311 with an .824 OPS over the last 23 games. It's a lot of doubles, and that's a good thing. So if he can maintain this doubles power and stop rolling over so many pitches as we've seen him do all year, that's going to be a boon for the Padres. But I think it's reasonable to be skeptical that he can maintain it because we've seen, good stretches from him before out of this season. He hasn't been able to maintain it. The bat speed is not what it was once was. The athleticism not what it once was. The power is not what it once was. So I think it's a little more wait and see if he can maintain it, but it's certainly been a nice development recently.
What do you expect from Yu Darvish making his debut tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing, obviously, is you just want him to stay healthy. Obviously, it's not going to be a full-bore outing. He'll have a pitch count. I think the main thing, whenever you have pitchers coming back from arm injuries, is just making sure that, the command is there. Sometimes guys come back and the velocity is there, the stuff is there, but just kind of that feel, that rhythm in their delivery isn't quite there. So seeing if the command is there, seeing if he can be efficient. You don't want him to run up his pitch count and be through it after 3 2/3 innings, which happens sometimes for guys making their first start back. So I just focus more on efficiency. In terms of velocity, I wouldn't read too much into it if it's a little bit down or a little bit up. It's more about the command for anyone coming off of an injury.
I'm curious, Kyle, to get your perspective on what they do at the deadline with starting pitching, because if Michael King doesn't return until August, which seems likely at this point, I think Kevin Acee reported that today. If Darvish, we just don't know in general. I mean, he could have 2 or 3 good starts, but that doesn't mean he's going to stay fully healthy. If you're AJ Preller, how much are you desiring to add starting pitching at the deadline?
It's something you always desire. You always want to add, another starting pitcher to provide some depth, provide some innings, but that's not the Padres' main priority right now. Despite Yu Darvish missing the entire season so far, despite Joe Musgrove being out for the year after having TJ, despite Michael King being hurt right now, despite Dylan Cease pitching with a mid to high 4s ERA most of the season. Padres pitching staff is top 10 in the majors in pretty much everything. ERA, whip, strikeouts, opponent's average. The pitching staff's done a great, great job. The Padres need to be focusing all their resources, both financially and prospect-wise, on this lineup.
What have you seen with Dylan Cease this year? It's a down year for Dylan. I think we can all agree on that. Going into his free agent walk year, it's not been what he's expected and what we have seen from him in the past. But what have you seen from him that he needs to change here to have a better second half of this team?
Yeah, there's just been a lot of hittable pitches. I mean, I think people look at the peripherals and see the strikeout rate and then the walk rate pretty good and say it's just bad luck. But if you really dive in and watch his outings, there have been way too many outings where he'll just start leaving some fastballs over the heart of the plate and they get crushed as a result. I think for him, it's just about finding that consistency, not, having, a couple good innings and all of a sudden leaving some really hittable pitches over the plate. So his last outing, 6 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs. It's been a lot of that stuff. So I think it's just, consistency, throughout his starts as opposed to having this bad inning or this series of poor hitters, where he's just leaving too many hittable pitches over the plate.
Were you surprised Fernando Tatis was named an All-Star?
I was. I thought it was going to be close and he would have an opportunity to get in as an injury replacement. Obviously, he has struggled badly recently, but you look at the overall performance, 260-ish with an 800 OPS, 15 homers, 19 steals, great defense. That's a good player and statistically one of the top 10 outfielders in the National League. He was just 9th in the NL among outfielders in OPS, and this was a very, very, very strong crop of National League outfielders. I thought that, there'd be 6 or 7 other guys selected. Maybe if 1 or 2 of them bowed out with injuries, he'd be an injury replacement. But it speaks to how much the players respect him. He was elected on player balloting. He finished ahead of Juan Soto on player balloting. So I think as much as the streak that he's been on has been frustrating for him, frustrating for the team, frustrating for the fans, everyone can see the talent. Everyone knows what he's capable of. And ultimately, the players respect him and see him as one of the 6 best outfielders in the National League, even when he's struggling.
Kyle, have you been surprised that this team continues to stay with the combination of Maldonado and Diaz behind the plate and not make that move for Campusano like you mentioned?
So I haven't been surprised because Campusano's defense is an issue. So when I say bring up Luis Campusano, it's to be your DH 5 days a week against righties, lefties, and another 2 days a week. Give Manny a day off his feet, maybe Bogarts, Arias, Cronenworth, Tatis, whoever needs one. Luis Campusano can really, really, really hit. He controls the strike zone, can hit for average, can hit for power, projects to be a 260, 20 homer type, and he's ready to come to the majors and acclimate and get up to that now. Defensively, the receiving has always been a little shaky, and some of the mental sides of catching. Leadership, maturity, game calling have always had something to be something to be desired. So I think realistically, given how well the Padres pitching staff has been going with those 2 catchers, and given there's not really a great catching option below them, I think it makes sense the Padres haven't really made a change. There's just not really another great option in the org. If Campusano comes up, it would really be as an everyday DH. That's where he would help the Padres the most.
They could use the offensive help. There's no doubt about it. Kyle, always appreciate your perspective and your insight. And again, for our listeners, make sure to check out his podcast, the Friar Territory Podcast. Awesome. All things Padres. Kyle's got you covered. And Kyle, as always, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Kyle.
My pleasure. Anytime, guys.
All right. Great stuff from Kyle Glazer. We can react to that. Plus, Bob Nightingale has weighed in on the Padres at the deadline.
Why?
Which outfielder makes the most sense?
Oh, this is funny. I know where you're going with this.
He'll contradict himself.
Yeah.
You'll hear about it on the other side. Plus, Chris Garagiola, he calls games for the Diamondbacks. We're in town for 4 beginning tonight. He'll join us at 3:30. Kevin Acee at 5:30. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Wednesday at 6 right here on San Diego Sports 760. We've got SDFC Midweek Live. You'll hear from Mikey Varis, the head coach. Interviews with other players as well. Find out the latest on the club. SDFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 on your home for SDFC. San Diego Sports 760. What does Bob Nightingale have to say about the Padres at the deadline? Who even cares? But
right.
Will he be accurate? Before we get to that, what's the update here on Michael King from Jeff Sanders within the last few minutes?
Well, I'm assuming that Mike Shildt spoke to the media because Jeff Sanders says Michael King played catch today. He will get out to 120 feet tomorrow. On Thursday, he will throw off a mound for the first time. The team, he said, is not calling that an official bullpen. More of a touch and feel, but it's clear momentum forward now that his nerve is firing.
Do you like the term? I don't even know. Touch and feel more or
nerve firing
or an up down? Remember, it was Darvish that threw. Didn't he throw an up down?
He threw an up down. He also just threw in the bullpen, not off a mound, just in the bullpen.
In the bullpen. This is a touch and feel.
Touch and feel.
Not an up down.
No, it's a touch and feel.
Touch and feel happens before the up down, by the way, because an up down is actually part of like a sim game.
Yeah, you actually are off the mound at 100%.
And then you wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're not touching feeling that you're anything here.
So we were literally on cue just saying, well, King hasn't even began the progression to return, but maybe this begins it. 120 feet, off a mound, not an official bullpen.
Touch and feel.
Touch and feel, then a bullpen, then a sim game,
his
then
nerve's
a rehab,
firing.
And the nerve is firing. I mean, maybe it lines up with what Kevin's reporting, which is they're optimistic, but it's going to be August. It's already July, second week. They're optimistic, but it's going to be August.
My feel on this, my touch
and feel on it. What's your touch and feel?
My touch and feel, middle of August at the earliest.
Middle of August.
Like by the start of August, he will be preparing to throw rehab start. 1 or 2 rehab starts. And then by the middle of August or the second week of August, I think he could be returning to this Padres team.
Okay, I kind of like that.
Anything before that, I would be surprised.
So August, you mentioned. Remember, August is that kind of last daunting stretch that the Padres will have this year. We've talked about their September.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I buy what you're selling. I think that at some point in early to mid-August, we'll see Michael King return. I'm just looking at their schedule. Will it be before they go to Dodger Stadium August 15th? I say yes. That's over a month away. Or will he make his return at Dodger Stadium August 15th weekend?
That would be some good drama.
It would.
Good theater, as they say.
And then the Dodgers come here the next weekend.
Mm-hmm. And the way that this team has been playing this year versus teams above 500.
They could use them?
Not only could they use them, I was just going to point to the fact that, as my point continues to remain, is that August is going to potentially either make or break this season because they're playing all really good teams. Cardinals. I'm not going to say the Cardinals are like amazing, but still they've had a nice season.
They're like the Padres.
We'll see how they fare against the Diamondbacks, but they face the Diamondbacks again in August. Boston's been up and down, but they can get streaky. The Giants, the Dodgers for 2 series. Seattle, how they've had their problems with Seattle over the past couple of years. Minnesota on the road. They just have a incredibly difficult August schedule that if they can navigate through that, they get to a September schedule where they're playing mostly sub 500 teams. And if they continue to be great against sub 500 teams, I feel really confident with this team's chances to make the postseason if they can get through August and come out on the other side, either in a playoff spot or better, hopefully. Then I think this team has a really good chance to just, make the postseason.
Completely agree. Bob Nightingale this weekend on the Padres at the deadline. He says the Padres are spreading the word to every seller that they're searching for a right-handed bat. Outfielder, actually, right-handed outfielder.
Oh, okay.
He then writes down below after that paragraph, Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran still makes the most sense for the Padres.
Wait, what?
Now, the issue with that is he just said they're looking for a right-handed bat. Jarren Duran happens to swing lefty.
Oh, Bob.
Not righty. He also would cost a lot because he's under control for years. So, and he's not having the same year he had last year. We've talked about that. But does Bob Nightingale contradict himself by saying the Padres are telling everyone they're looking for a right-handed bat and Jarren Duran makes the most sense for the Padres?
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense.
You don't even need to ask the question. He 100% contradicts himself. Like, wait, whoa, pause.
Yeah, like I don't get like, hey, they're telling people they want a righty, but actually, I'm telling you they need Jarren Duran. Is that what? I don't think. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, the year for Duran, Jim, 255, 728 OPS, 101 OPS plus. That's league average. He's been fine. 1.7 WAR. He's been solid. Like he provides some things that you could absolutely use, but he's a left-handed bat.
Yeah, I'm out on
Duran. And you'd have to give up a lot because he's under control through 2028. It's a long time from now.
Yeah, I'm out.
So now you saw Adolis Garcia up close and personal this weekend.
I did.
He didn't really do anything, did he? This weekend. This was your baby.
I know. I was like, he's my new trade crush.
Right. Are you over that now?
Kind of over it.
You're over Adolis Garcia after one weekend.
Made an awful defensive play in right field that turned into a triple for Tatis. Had a couple singles here and there. Did nothing else.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's just a name like that potentially could be out there on the market. The Rangers, I don't think, are going to be competing for a postseason spot this year. I just don't see it.
They seem pretty mid.
They do.
Their offense leaves a lot to be desired, kind of like the Padres.
They're a up and down offense. The last week before they came to San Diego, they were really good. They were averaging like almost 6 runs a game. But then like the previous week before that, they were averaging like 2 runs a game. So they're a very up and down team. I don't think that the Rangers are going to be competing for a postseason spot this year. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so maybe Adolis Garcia will be on the move, and maybe he'll be wearing a Padres uniform in 3 weeks.
I think if you want to look at teams that you could go out and make a trade for an outfielder, look at teams like Minnesota. I think the Rangers, who were just in town, look at the Rangers. Obviously, we've talked about him a lot. Taylor Ward with the Angels. Are people still wanting Luis Robert Jr.? Because I don't.
More of a project.
More, if you want to look at Luis Robert Jr., okay. I think AJ Preller is looking at literally every single player available at the deadline. That's a right-handed bat, especially.
Well, a team that might be selling is the team the Padres are playing for beginning tonight. And Chris Garagiola will join us on the other side. He calls games for the Diamondbacks. They have fallen off. They've lost 7 of 10. Will they be sellers at the deadline or not? Chris Garagiola back with us on the other side. This is Jon Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This update's brought to you by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Padres start a 4-game series with the Diamondbacks tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish will make his season debut tonight for the Padres, and SDFC lost a heartbreaker this past Saturday to Houston 4-3. Next up, they'll take on Chicago this upcoming Saturday on the road. 5:30 kickoff, 5 p.m. pregame. Listen right here on your home of SDFC, San Diego Sports 760. Is that a weird rattle in your HVAC system or the sound of expensive guessing? At Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air, we'll give you 3 real options guaranteed, or your visit is free. Nobody wows clients like we do. AndersonPHA.com.
All right, 4-game series begins tonight. Padres Diamondbacks, and Chris Garagiola back with us. He calls games for the D-backs. With us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, getting ready for this 4-game set. Chris, we appreciate you taking time for us here in San Diego. So you just look at the overall work here from the D-backs. They've struggled, obviously, 3-8 in their last 11 games, but they get Corbin Carroll back, right? He was out with the hand fracture, but he only missed a couple of weeks, and he's back. Does that give him some hope for optimism here heading towards the All-Star break?
I think so. I mean, certainly before these offensive injuries mounted up, you were talking about one of the most efficient offenses in baseball. I think they were top 5 in runs scored after leading the majors last year in runs scored. And the timing of the injury was really rough because their young catcher, Gabriel Moreno, had also suffered a fracture to his pointer finger after a rainy game in Cincinnati, which I'm still chapped wasn't called. But neither here nor there. He was back in 18 days. It's a remarkable turnaround for a remarkable player. And even though he hasn't had a hit in his first 2 games back, I know the D-backs are looking for him to hopefully take off during this 4-game series against the Pods.
Where do you think the Diamondbacks are leaning here? They're kind of in no man's land. I think if they have a good stretch before the deadline, they could maybe convince themselves that they could buy. But as of right now, it feels like this team might be in seller mode. Where do you think that they're leaning towards, and what do you think that they'll eventually do here coming up at the deadline?
God, it's so hard to answer because they keep looking for signs for this team to take off, to go on one of those great winning streaks, right? And they had a soft pocket of the schedule where, you know, they go on the road, they take on Toronto, who's having a nice year, but then it's the Rockies, and then it's the White Sox, and then they come home against the Marlins. Well, you know, they lose 2 or 3 to Toronto. They win the series without sweeps against the Rockies or the Sox, and they come home, they get swept by Miami in 3 games, and they end up going 3-7 on this 10-day homestand, and that kind of set their sights back. So, you know, right now, I still think this group does not want to sell. They're going to try and do everything they can to not be sellers. And unless the Diamondbacks just absolutely flatline going into the break and coming out of it, I think they're going to try and find ways to acquire. You know, maybe the thought process is if we can make some minor additions to the bullpen, that's going to make a huge amount of help moving forward. Maybe Zach Gallen has another great start here tonight to build upon what he did against the Giants. 10 strikeout, no walk performance, and they can believe that might be a 2-month turnaround. But I don't know. I mean, you can, depending how you wake up, you could look at it and say, look, it's a no-brainer. They got to sell. And you could also wake up and say, look, they got a great offense. They'll figure it out. But they just need more time. And unfortunately, that's the one thing they're running out of.
Yeah, the life of a 500 team. It's just like one day you feel like, okay, this team's going to buy. The next day, you're like, oh, they got to sell. And if they do end up selling, who are some names that you think potentially could be on the move for this Diamondbacks team?
Well, the one thing that teams are looking for always is starting pitching. And as much as he has struggled, I got to think there's a team that would want to take a flyer on Zach Gallen, given the pedigree. And it might be a situation where, look, just get him out of there. Let's get our pitching staff on him. And maybe that could be the thing that turns it around. The other thing teams are always looking for are, you know, depth to the bullpen. And Shelby Miller's been a godsend. This is a guy who was brought in on a minor league, basically courtesy show me deal in spring training, and has been the Diamondbacks' best reliever. He was supposed to be kind of a 7th inning swing guy. Then the injury to AJ Puck got turned into an 8th inning guy. Then the injury to Justin Martinez got turned into the closer. And he's basically done every role really, really well. So I got to think teams are going to be interested. And then you look at the 2 corners, Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor. They're both expirings. Suarez might hit 30 bombs before we get to the All-Star break. He just got nominated to his 2nd All-Star team. And Josh Naylor, been a 300 hitter. Guy who's controlling both sides of the mound, I should say. Really handles himself well against left-handed pitching, showing some power. I know that teams would love to add that to his bat, to their lineup, even if he's just a DH bat. So those would probably be the places, those 4 names that would be really interesting, certainly as we get closer to the 31st.
You mentioned Zach Gallen, who will pitch tonight opposite Yu Darvish, 6-9 overall, 5.45 ERA. What hasn't gone as well as they were hoping for this year for the veteran righty?
I mean, you can try and overcomplicate it and zoom in as close as you want, but here's the reality, fellas. He is striking out guys fewer at a rate lower than he ever has in his career. He's walking more guys than he ever has at any rate in his career. And he is giving up home runs at an alarming rate, by far the most he has at any point in his career. So you don't strike guys out, you walk guys a lot, and you're giving up a lot of homers. That's pretty much the blueprint to having the highest qualified ERA among starting pitchers. And that's where he's at now. Now, I've had the pleasure of watching him since 2022, my first year. I know there's more in the tank. I know that there is quality that for whatever reason is just not being tapped into this season. And I'm just going to be stubborn in the belief that what I saw his last time out against the Giants, that's who Zach Gallen is, and that's what he's capable of, and that's what he's going to do here today. Whether or not he goes out and does it, we'll find out, I suppose, at about, 6:50 when he takes the mound for the first time. But, the things I just mentioned, that's the reason why, when it comes down to it, why he just hasn't been the guy that we've all known and really enjoyed watching pitch the last 3-4 years.
Yu Darvish makes his return tonight. You've seen this Padres team before this year. What do you make of where the Padres are at right now? The record is good. It could be better, but there are a lot of things underlining with this team that are concerning, specifically their offense. But from your vantage point, what do you make of this Padres team?
Yeah, you guys will probably know this a little bit better. From what it looks like to my standpoint, respectfully, it seems like the Padres got off to this unbelievable start and then have just kind of been meandering as a 500 team ever since. And that's why the record looks as good as it did. And I wanted to double check that, since we saw you guys back on I think it was June 14th, 15th, 16th, something like that. You guys are 9-9 in your last 18 games since. So the offense with the names that's there, look, I think you still need more from Xander Bogaerts. Manny Machado, I know, is going to be an all-star starter. The power is there, but the average down a little bit as well. I think getting Yu Darvish, veteran experienced guy. I know he's 38 years old. I couldn't believe it when I was doing my research there, and still is pitching with quality in his late 30s. Like, as much as we want the offense to take off, because it feels like it has a bunch of superstars, right? Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr. I already mentioned Machado. Bogaerts hopefully can pick some things up. Cronenworth, still looking for him to take a bounce back from what we saw a couple of years ago. I think if you're pitching with the bullpen that you guys have, can even improve a little bit, you're going to start to take off a little bit more on those 4-game, 5-game, 6-game winning streaks. And that's what the Padres saw at the beginning of the year. I think that's what fans are hoping for as you guys looking to march into the All-Star break and certainly into the trade deadline.
Chris Garagiola with us right now. He calls games for the Diamondbacks. You kind of look at some of these numbers, Chris. It's almost like these teams are opposites, right? I mean, the Diamondbacks with their offense, but have struggled with their pitching staff. The Padres with their pitching staff, but have struggled with their offense.
Just put them together. They're amazing.
Put them together. Honestly, you probably really do have a special team. And I know they got 3 All-Stars.
Let's play the Dodgers, right? The Arizona Padres, we can beat LA, guys.
Yes.
Very confidently with that squad.
Well, I mean, you just look at the All-Stars, right? Marte, Suarez, and Carroll deserving. You think 3 All-Stars, you think a team that might be, in better standing overall, but it's the pitching that's let them down even with this offense, right?
You can't win without pitching. And unfortunately, the first month of the season, it wasn't just bad pitching. I mean, it was unsustainably bad pitching in the sense of, they were giving up 6-run 9th innings, 5-run 8th innings. They had scored 12 runs against the Rockies and lost. They had a losing record when scoring 7 runs or more, I think at one point, or it was close to 500. And when statistically you score 4 runs or more, you're supposed to win like almost 80% of the time. So there were so many games early where your offense was just a shining star and you weren't winning those games. We're talking maybe 7 or 8 they let slip through their fingers, and you look at their record now, a team that's 2 games under, you get those 8 or 9 games back that you gave away, and now you're only 3 back of first place in the division. I'm sure every team could say they want to have those things back, but there's been a tremendous amount of pressure put on this offense to score huge amount of runs. And I just mentioned earlier the injuries to Carroll. Great to have him back, but you're still missing Gabby Moreno. You were missing for a little bit of time Josh Naylor, who kind of tweaked something in that series against the White Sox. So again, I think if this front office believes in buying at the deadline, the rationale is going to be all we have to do is just stabilize the pitching a little bit, and the offense will take us to the place we want to get to, which, as we saw a couple of years ago, give them a wild card spot, put the cards on the table, and see how they fall.
No doubt about it. Getting to the World Series just 2 years ago. Chris, always appreciate you taking time for us. Enjoy this series against the Padres coming up beginning tonight. Thanks for hopping on as always.
Guys, thanks for the invitation. Good luck over the series, okay?
All right, great stuff. Chris Garagiola, again, calls games for the D-backs, who are 3-8 in their last 11 games. They went from 3 over to 2 under through 90 games, 44 and 46.
Well, we've seen way too many times in just, recent memory. The Diamondbacks been struggling, and they face the Padres,
100%.
and they turn their season around.
Wherever it is, and more specifically Chase Field, because I gave you the numbers like a month ago. The Padres have a historically awful record. I mean, awful. They win like 35% of the time or 40% of the time at Chase Field. But you're right. You're on high alert because it's the Diamondbacks who have given them trouble.
I just remember 2023, and you'll remember this as well.
Late in the August, they were just awful against Arizona.
4-game series against Arizona, and they had to play a doubleheader. Or was it a 3-game series? I forget.
Is that when Soto flied out to the warning track that would have won the game? He,
it would have been a walk-off grand slam.
Yeah.
And the D-backs, I believe, took 3 of 4, or they swept the series. I don't entirely remember the outcome, but what I do remember is that series specifically propelled the D-backs to, the run that they went on to get them to the World Series. Like, that was their turning point in their season, was that moment right there.
The difference between the Padres and the Diamondbacks at the end of the year was like that series.
Yeah.
It's like they took 3 or 4 and they were 2 games better than the Padres.
Right.
And if the Padres would have taken 3 or 4, they would have had the season head to head and been in the postseason. So yes, Arizona has absolutely been a thorn in the side of the Padres. All right, we're going to get to Is That Good? The best and worst of the sports weekend on the other side coming up at 5:30. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, is on the show. Plus, we're going to hear from Jeff Passan in the 4 o'clock hour. Is there any chance in the world that Paul Skenes could be on the move or not? We'll get to Is That Good? The best and worst of the sports weekend coming up next. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, we're going to hear from Michael King coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Plus, in the 4 o'clock hour, we have Incubus tickets. Oh, think about burying the lead. Jim, did you realize this?
I did not, John.
How are we not like doing it? We have.
I was not informed.
Are you an Incubus guy?
Let me answer that for you.
No.
That'd be a no.
Incubus had its run. Brent's nodding his head yes. Incubus with the Manchester Orchestra. What does that mean? I mean, I guess it means they're with the Manchester Orchestra.
Yeah,
but I mean, they're coming from Manchester, England.
Okay.
So, like,
no, it's Manchester, Ohio.
Where is it? Seriously.
England, I assume.
So the Manchester Orchestra and Incubus are joining forces at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on Saturday, July 19th. That's amazing.
I mean,
what? Who cares about anything else?
That's not something that was on my radar. I can tell you that.
Incubus Manchester Orchestra will give away those tickets coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, and we'll hear from Michael King. What is it?
It's not an actual orchestra.
Oh,
Manchester Orchestra is the name of the band.
That Incubus.
They're from Georgia, Atlanta.
Hey, but if you want these tickets, we'll give them away later in the show.
Incubus is legit, or at least they were in like 2000.
Well, this makes more sense because I was like, what they're going to do.
Theme with all of our giveaways. They were great in like 1985.
That's right. It's like you never want the players that were really good at like 2006.
Hey, you want these tickets to this band that was awesome in 1997?
that's Incubus.
Come to San Diego Sports 760. We got you.
Who likes Incubus? I mean, I don't know. You can't really raise your hand if you're listening right now, but I bet there's people right now in their car raising their hands. There's some Incubus fans, right? 704-700. I'm a fan.
Oh, really? Name me one song.
I can't name any songs right now off the top. They have some songs. I'll Google it at the break. Right, Brent? They have songs?
Yeah, they had some Pardon Me, and they had a couple of
that
hits.
song.
Yeah, that one.
They play it all the time.
We'll get that away in the 4 o'clock hour. Before we get to Is That Good? You just tweeted about this. How exciting is this? No, later? This is for later?
This is in my Is That Good?
Okay, I didn't even see that. Okay,
it's in my Is That Good?
Let's get to it.
Is that good?
Wilcox, snapper, Huber, holder from 29 yards away.
All right, so we definitively have an answer to who won the Juan Soto trade.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's AJ Preller, because AJ Preller has a job and Mike Rizzo does not anymore. Mike Rizzo fired over the weekend along with Davey Martinez. They had options for their contract in July. I don't know when in July, but they were not picked up, obviously. And the Nationals are going a different direction. So yeah, is that good, Brent? For AJ Preller.
Yeah, for us. It's going to be true, though. The trade's a good trade for the Nationals.
Right.
Their rebuild is taking way too long. Has it not? Like, they should be better than they are. They had a ridiculous July stretch where they were like 1-12 over 13 games.
Like, they have some real, like, Mackenzie Gore, all-star. James Wood, all-star. CJ Abrams has been an all-star.
They should be better than this.
But other than those three guys that he got from AJ Preller, he's not done a great job everywhere else.
Yeah, building around them. I completely agree with that. But again, did win a World Series as a general manager with the Nationals back in 2019. All right, I'm going to get started with Luis Arraez, who is scorching hot. I'm surprised he's still under 300 for the year. He's at 292, but in his last 21 games, Arraez is hitting 344 overall. Is that good?
It is good!
Arraez is heating up.
And I like where he's at in the lineup because he's not going to strike out. He's a contact guy. And if you get guys on in front of him,
you're right.
You're forcing the defense to be perfect out there. And he's on fire right now. So I like him hitting cleanup.
I agree.
Because you got Manny Machado's going to get on base more often than not in front of him. Fernando Tatis Jr.'s on base percentage has been really good. The only player in the top four that has just kind of been awful lately is Jackson Merrill.
Yeah. But you're right. Arraez with men in scoring position in his career has been a brilliant hitter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I like him batting fourth as well.
Saturday night was a brutal loss for SDFC. They had a 3-2 lead in that game, in the match. They gave up a goal in the 87th minute, and they gave up a goal in stoppage time in, like, I think the 97th minute or something.
Why was there 17 minutes of stoppage time?
That was a lot, and I have no idea. When I saw that.
Is that a record? in soccer. I mean, 17 minutes for a
17
45-minute half.
It's like it's crazy.
That's had 4 innings.
Like what?
It's a lot.
Yeah. So when you add 17 minutes of stoppage time, something wild's gonna happen, and it did. It was a heartbreaking loss for them over the weekend. 2 goals in the last 12, 13 minutes of that match. Brent, is that good?
Rare home loss for an SDFC team that's played excellent soccer this year.
Yep.
Speaking of kind of an excruciating soccer loss, the U.S. led 1-0 right away in the Gold Cup final against Mexico, only to lose 2-1. It's Mexico's 10th Gold Cup championship. Is that good for the U.S., Brent?
No, it's not good. Are you kidding me?
World Cup's like, I'm looking at my watch, which I don't have, is less than a year away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, U.S., like, do more. Right? Like going into the World Cup that's here in North America, we're looking for more out of you.
Just stick poking, do something.
Something good.
And finally, this is what you were almost going to ruin for my Is That Good? But I just saw this posted. And again, I don't ever listen to this show. So it was announced earlier this morning on his show. But Pat McAfee will be joining ESPN's broadcast of the Home Run Derby. His entire show will be doing a broadcast just like they do for college football on the sidelines, but this time for the Home Run Derby.
Oh, no.
Brent, is that good?
But it's going to be their own separate thing, right?
Separate broadcast, like a different network.
Like Manning casting. If I want to watch them, I turn on ESPN2. I don't have to watch them.
Good point.
He said that, so Pat McAfee will hit the road for a Derby Day show in Atlanta. The show will be available from 12 to 2. And then he also confirmed that he will be broadcasting during the Home Run Derby. The main event will once again be called by Carl Ravage and Eduardo Perez. So, yes, it'll be a different, separate broadcast, like a Manning cast thing.
You know what they should do?
That's fine.
I'm not a fan. Here's what they should do.
I'm not either, but if I don't have to watch it, I'm fine.
Here's what they should do. They should put Pat McAfee on Inside the NBA. What do you think about that idea?
Shh. They might do it. I seriously
Honestly,
might do
with
that.
all these things. They're paying Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith so much money. Don't put anything past them.
No.
Here's my final one, and we'll hear more on Paul Skenes coming up from Jeff Passan. Listen to this. He has the lowest ERA in the history of the sport to have 1 or fewer wins in his last 13 starts. He has a 1.72 ERA. Nobody has started 13 consecutive games and had fewer than 2 wins with a 1.72 ERA other than Paul Skenes. Is that good?
That's not good.
Dude, who's the GM and the manager and well, they've already fired everyone. But like, what on earth is going on in Pittsburgh?
If I'm Paul Skenes, I am demanding a trade after this season.
Are you walking right into that office?
I'm out.
Who do you even go to?
Who's
in charge?
He is a generational Hall of Fame talent pitcher. And he's going to have his career be wasted if he continues to be in Pittsburgh. Get the hell out. Just get out.
Was it 1-0 to the Mariners?
Come on.
And then you got to go home. Live you done. But you're losing 1-0.
It could be worse.
It could be worse than 1 win in your last 13 starts.
Yeah. Oh, well, I gave up 1 run tonight. I lost the game. But hey, Livy.
And by the way, I'm going to make a half bill on my next contract if I can stay healthy. And there's so much money. Livy Dunn, what is she making?
If I'm Paul Skenes, dude, asking out, no one's going to be against this. No one's going to criticize you.
Like, you want out?
Yeah, people are going to praise you. You're not going to be viewed as somebody that's like running away from, a hardship. You're going to be viewed as, thank you. We want to see you pitching for an actual contender because while you're in Pittsburgh, you will never sniff the postseason.
And real quick, remember when the Nats offered Soto, whatever it was, $500 million, $450, I forget what it was, before the Padres made the trade.
Right.
I can't wait till the Pirates make the announcement like, we've offered Paul Skenes
$500 million.
$100 million. We've offered him the richest deal in the history of the franchise, $100 million. Don't you see something like that? We've offered him a 4-year extension for $120 million. He's leaving.
I even think Pittsburgh fans would understand if Paul Skenes demanded a trade.
Yeah, 100%. We'll hear from Jeff Passan on Paul Skenes.
Like, we get it, dude.
Any chance he could be on the move at this year's deadline in his second year as a major leaguer? Plus, the wrap is on the other side. We'll hear from Michael King and Mike Shildt pregame, who's late to his pregame media availability.
Oh,
why is Mike Shildt over 30 minutes late to his pregame availability?
Is this
Plus,
thing
Kevin
on?
Acee will join us at 5:30. Don't go anywhere. Hour 3, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app is next.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. Padres start a 4-game series with the D-backs tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish is making his season debut tonight for the Padres, and SDFC had a heartbreaking loss on Saturday night. They will play this upcoming Saturday on the road, 5:30 kickoff time, 5 p.m. pregame in Chicago. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell has the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
Jono joined by Jason Adam and Fernando Tatis Jr. as all-stars for the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr. having to change his plans. He told the media postgame he had booked a mini vacation, expecting not to be named an all-star, which kind of tells you about his all-star candidacy if he had already booked a mini vacation.
Kind of very telling there.
It's pretty telling.
We all love Tatis. We want him to perform like he was performing at the start of the season. We have not seen that consistently for the last 2.5 months.
I'm sorry, he's not an all-star.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We'll hear from Michael King and Mike Shildt pregame coming up. Plus, Kevin Acee will join us at 5:30. We have a poll up on YouTube, Jim. It's a YouTube poll.
Okay.
Which is like a poll.
Right, like a
put on Twitter.
Poll we could put anywhere.
Okay, so the YouTube poll, by the way, you can watch the show on YouTube. Search for Jon and Jim 760. There are 96 votes, and 57% of people on YouTube say Fernando Tatis Jr. does not deserve to be an all-star, which kind of solidifies our take. Not that either side's right or wrong. It's just an opinion. It's just based on what we've seen.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that Tatis' ceiling is like MVP caliber play, but it seems like he hasn't even reached the all-star level this year in just watching. Now, he was that player for a month. He hasn't necessarily been for the last 2 months. For whatever it's worth, he'll be in Atlanta. But 57% of people watching us on YouTube say he hasn't deserved that all-star spot.
And this is not us trying to be against Fernando Tatis Jr. We're just telling you how it is. And how it is that he has not performed like an all-star this year. It's a great accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. It's much better than Andy Pages making the all-star team.
Sure.
You know, especially if you're a Padres fan. But all you need to know is that Fernando Tatis Jr. booked a vacation for next week. And he like, wait, I'm an all-star? So I'm looking at it this way. Hopefully this turns into a positive for the rest of the year and gives him the confidence boost that he really, I think, needs to get him back to playing like Fernando Tatis Jr. at the start of the season. Hopefully this turns his season around from a mental standpoint.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't
it? It would be awesome. Now, time will only tell if that's the case, but being voted in by your peers, I think would give, you confidence in yourself. Like, hey, all my peers in baseball that really to ball players mean more than anything else. They all think that I'm an all-star player and I should be on the all-star team this year. And with that, I'm going to just, kind of wipe the slate clean and not start over, but go forward with the mindset of, I'm an all-star. I can do this. And mentally, hopefully it kicks in and it translates on the field.
And to be fair, too, it's not like it's one of these deals that we see in like the NFL where it's like, oh, Fernando, you get to go because the 7 people in front of you all said, yeah, we're out. We're not going to go. So now you get to go. Yay, you're an all-star. He got in, based on the peer vote, not just because, 6 other guys in left field didn't go in.
Yeah, this isn't the injured reserve team. This is he actually made it as a reserve. By the way, we didn't even mention Jason Adam. Jason Adam makes the team. You could have argued Adrian Morejon could have made the team, but Jason Adam has put together a very good year for the Padres, sub-2 ERA. All right, we're going to hear from Jeff Passan coming up on Paul Skenes. You'll hear from Michael King as well on his progress coming back from injury. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
All right, if you guys could pick one player in baseball that's not named Judge or Ohtani to add to the Padres, who would it be?
We had this question posed to us the other night on the wrap-up show. I wanted to bring it to Jon and Jim today. It's a great question. I love it. Because there are so many players out there. You're like, okay, I want that player on the Padres. I want that player on the Padres. And I think for their specific needs as a team, for this season, I think I would choose Cal Raleigh.
Catcher.
I like it.
Amazing year.
He is, fits multiple needs. He's a power bat. He's a catcher. And he can hit in the middle of your lineup. The pitching hasn't been a huge problem for this team, especially if they're going to get Darvish back right now and Michael King back. They're not losing games because of their pitching staff. They're losing games because of their offense. And if you put in, it's like you kill two birds with one stone. You got a Cal Raleigh who can hit in the middle of your lineup. And oh, by the way, he's a great catcher.
Tariq Skubal, you made a good point on pitching, but I'll take the best pitcher in the sport with his .8 whip and his 10-1 record and his 1 ERA. And it starts there to actually go win in the postseason. If you could just take the best pitcher in baseball and put him on the Padres, I'll take an anchor at the front of my rotation. They have a few of them, kind of. And Darvish, is he healthy? Cease, is he pitching that way? King, is he healthy? Just give me the best pitcher in the sport right now. Put him at the front of rotation, and let's cook. Yeah, he doesn't hit, but I'll take his 7 scoreless, 11 strikeout, no walk performance every time out. Just because.
And Jim's guy has a built-in awesome nickname already, so he would fit right in.
The big
dumper. Come on.
And he's a switch hitter too. So
yeah,
you got a power right-handed bat, lefty power bat, plays every day. He's a platinum gold glove winner behind the dish. To me, it's like Cal Raleigh's by far and away the best catcher in baseball. And this team's catching position this year has been just god awful. You upgrade there with Cal Raleigh, 35 plus home runs already.
Right.
Dude, that'd be insane.
And the other one, you said you couldn't take Judge or Ohtani. I'll take Skenes too.
Yeah.
Paul Skenes, come on. In San Diego, sure. I'd take that.
Right.
Next question.
Do you guys think Fernando deserved to make the All-Star team?
Oh, interesting question.
Did he deserve to make the All-Star team? I'll say yes. But if you're asking me, did he deserve to make the All-Star team over guys like Juan Soto and Andy Pages, I'll say no. I think he's putting up a good enough season in years past. Absolutely. That's an All-Star player, right? Defensively, he runs the bases great. Offensively, he's been awful the last 2 months, but still the numbers total, you look at his total numbers, you can make an argument that he's an All-Star, but you have to look at the big picture and you have to look at everything in context. And when you have Juan Soto, who has a 900 plus OPS, not make the All-Star team in right field, a little weird.
This is the classic, what I always say about the school report card. This is the guy that is trending down at the end of a school year. He went B first semester, C second semester, and gets a C. He didn't go C, B. So I don't think Tatis necessarily deserves the benefit of the doubt. The numbers hold up. The numbers, because of April, hold up. But if you're looking at what has he done over the last 2 months, the full body of work, I thought he'd be on the outside looking in. He thought he'd be on the outside looking in. You could argue it either way. He's an All-Star.
And also another point that's been made in our chat, Dave Roberts managing the National League All-Star team this year, and you have Fernando Tatis Jr. make it in over your dude, Andy Pages.
And it was Tatis, of course, that started the fireworks at Dodger Stadium. We talked about last night as well.
Yep.
On the wrap-up show, next question.
What will the returning Yu Darvish's final line be tonight?
I'm going to go with 5 innings, 2 earned runs, and 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's kind of best case scenario.
I like
probably.
it. I'll say 4 innings, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 69 pitches.
69 pitches. I'm going to go 73 pitches.
In 5? That's good.
Yeah.
Very efficient. Under 15 pitches per inning against the top 5 offense.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah, me too. I hope he goes 4+. Next question.
Over under 2.5 moves for AJ Preller at the deadline.
Over. I think he makes 3 moves.
Way over.
Yeah, I think he makes 3 moves. I think he goes out and gets 2 bats, and I think he adds to the pitching staff. I'm not going to commit to either a starter or reliever. I think it could be either or.
Mm-hmm.
I just am going to say he's going to go out and get a pitcher, and he's going to get 2 bats. That's what my guess is, because he's going to be looking at a bat to put in the lineup every day and a bat that could fill in and be on your bench, because you can't have Trenton Brooks be your, pinch hitter off the bench.
I mean, Trenton Brooks right now is DHing every day.
Yeah.
Right? Which is crazy. He's basically DHing every day.
Yeah.
He's DHing a lot. I wish I had the Padres media guide easily available, and I do, but I'm not going to find it while I talk here. It has a list of every trade AJ Preller's ever made. I want to see every single deadline trade he's made. On average, he has made 3+ trades when buying.
Last year,
I guarantee it.
Last year was. Now, are you looking at players or trades? Trades. So if one trade nets back 2 players, do you count that as 2?
That's one trade.
I'm looking at players.
Then it's easily.
Does he acquire over under 2.5 players? You can't acquire half a player, but you get my point.
I think over. I think either way. I think it's going to be 3 trades or more.
See, I was looking at
players
he acquired,
but it could also be 3 trades or 3 players.
Could be, or it could be one trade with 3 players.
You're right.
But
Baltimore.
I'm looking at players, and I think he's going to acquire minimum 3 new players, 2 bats and a pitcher.
I'm going to find at the
You're
break
looking
all
hard.
His moves, man.
Every
love
move?
every move he's ever made as GM. Because there's a part of the media guide that lists every move he's ever made as GM.
All right, last year you had Jason Adam, you had Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
This is just at the deadline. Now, was Brian Hoeing in the Tanner Scott deal? Because they both came from.
He was.
Okay, so there's 3.
Yeah. There's more than that, right? Okay.
I don't think so. I think that's it. At the deadline last year.
At the deadline.
He got Jason Adam, Tanner Scott, Brian Hoeing. Those are the 3 moves he made, right? Or the 3 players he acquired.
I think I forget. Man, I don't know what I had for breakfast. Toast.
You had toast?
But it's hard to remember. I did. I'm so bored. I had toast with butter.
Was there?
That's it?
I know who else he acquired.
Toast?
He did not acquire toast. Avocado toast? No. And I'm blanking on his name. From Pittsburgh, the pitcher. Who is it? He made a bunch of starts at the end of last year, and he was really good for this team.
Oh, he was awesome. Martin Perez.
That
guy was great. He had a 70 ERA. He came here. He had a 4.
Yeah, Martin Perez, Brian Hoeing, Tanner Scott, and Jason Adam. He acquired 4 players at the deadline last year. And am I missing anybody?
I feel like yes, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, Luis Ariz was early in the year. Dylan Cease early in the year. Picked up Jerkson Profar and Donovan Solano and Peralta.
Yeah. Well, but there's 4 right there.
Yeah.
So there's 4 right there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at players, not actual trades.
That's fair.
And I think he acquires 3 players for this team, because this team does need at minimum 3 players to replace some really awful players on this team.
I agree. I think it could be more than 3, truthfully. Is there any chance the Pirates trade Paul Skenes? We'll hear from Jeff Passan. Plus, Michael King on his progression from this nerve injury. Plus, we'll hear from Mike Shildt. Kevin Acee is on the show at 5:30. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right. The devastating Texas floods have impacted countless residents. Families have lost homes, communities and lives have been shattered. Children missing. The need is urgent. The Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country has launched the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund to support response, relief, and long-term recovery. All donations will go directly to trusted local organizations to provide food, shelter, healthcare, and hope. Join us today and donate to the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund at communityfoundation.net. That's communityfoundation.net. That has been insane and sad to watch play out in Texas over the last few days. I think July 4th is when it began. People still missing in Texas, certainly thinking about those that have been impacted in Texas. That has been literally surreal to watch play out in the news the last couple of days.
Mother Nature is a
powerful.
Yeah, is a B word.
You're not kidding. Seriously, just unbelievable stuff. All right, we're going to hear from Mike Shildt as the Padres get ready for the Diamondbacks coming up. We'll hear his pregame comments with the media.
I heard it wasn't very riveting.
Okay, that's good. That's a good tease. I like that. So stay tuned for that. You're going to hear from Mike Shildt coming up. In addition, Kevin Acee will join us at 5:30. And I don't know if he'll be riveting either. So maybe just get on with your day.
Shildt probably just has so much less to talk about because there's no updates on you because he's pitching tonight, and we already had a King update earlier. And
all right, well, stay tuned for all of that non-riveting stuff coming up. Let's hear from Jeff Passan. Let's see if this is riveting. Is there any chance the Pirates could trade Paul Skenes? Let's listen.
Let's look at it this way. 29 other teams would love to have Paul Skenes in their rotation, but the only team that's going to have him is the Pittsburgh Pirates because they have no intention or no desire to trade him. Ke'Bryan Hayes, available. Brian Reynolds, available. David Bednar, Dennis Santana, Andrew Heaney go up and down the list of Pittsburgh Pirates. And the only one really not available is Paul Skenes, who through his career now has 249 innings pitched and a 1.95 ERA. He has been everything that the Pittsburgh Pirates hoped he would be, wanted him to be. Unfortunately, his teammates around him cannot say the same.
Yeah, so you're telling me until he's a free agent in 2029, Skenes better get used to that black and gold. Now over to New York, where
just not at this point.
Okay,
it's a little early in the process.
We'll give
the notion that he's going to be a Pirate for the next 5 years, not sure about that one.
Okay.
What kind of response?
Wait, what?
He was like, hey, Skenes isn't going to move. And then the Sports Center anchor's like, so you're telling me he's going to be in black and gold through 2029? He's like, no, I didn't say that.
No.
Say he's not being moved in his second year, which makes sense. I'd be shocked if he moved in a second. This is his second year. He's not getting moved in a second year. At some point, they may have to move him.
At some point, if they don't start
win
building around this guy, because he is the face of your franchise and your whole entire job right now is to build a winning team around Paul Skenes. That's it.
Right.
And if they're not going to spend money, if they're not going to go out and sign players and make trades and be aggressive and bold, like I said earlier in the show, if I'm Paul Skenes, dude, peace out, bye. I'm not going to waste some of my best seasons of my career here for a team that's not trying to win.
Is a sub-2, you just heard it, a sub-2 career ERA.
Yeah, come on.
For a team that has been irrelevant, obviously, his 2 years in the major leagues. What did you make of, did you see this list? I didn't understand it. Brian Reynolds has a no-trade list of the Pirates, the outfielder.
I did, and one of the teams is the San Diego Padres.
Well, all the
California teams.
Well, it's all the good teams. Yankees, good. Dodgers, good. Giants, good. Padres, good. Mets, good. Blue Jays, good.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 contending teams are on Brian Reynolds' no-trade list.
What?
Well, I don't even understand. Does that mean, did they get this wrong? Are these the 6 teams he would consider being traded to and waive his no trade? Or are these the 6 teams he doesn't want to be traded to?
I think those are the 6 teams he doesn't want to be traded to.
So where does he want to go trade? Some average team?
He doesn't want to go to California because of the state tax.
And he doesn't want to go to New York because of state tax?
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to go to Toronto because it's in Canada?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's just thinking about it from a sheer money. He's like, forget all this. I'm the richest pirate ever.
Yeah,
I want to make as much money as I can.
Yeah, screw winning. I want to keep all my money.
Has this guy done anything, by the way, since signing that deal? Like this year, has he done anything?
He was a really good player and then just
got his money. Negative 0.7 WAR.
Oh,
674 OPS.
Is that good?
No. So interesting. I just found that interesting that, okay, so you have Paul Skenes who's not going anywhere. Makes sense.
Right.
You have Brian Reynolds saying, I don't want to go anywhere where they're going to take more of my money.
Right, exactly.
And Pirates are a complete mess.
The Pirates are just is awful. Other than Paul Skenes, they have nothing going for them. Nothing.
Literally.
O'Neal
nothing.
Cruz is a nice player.
Yep.
But you got O'Neal Cruz and Paul Skenes, and it's just a bunch of nothing after that. Paul Skenes has an opportunity to start the All-Star team, start the All-Star game this year with a 4-7 record. And he
it's
probably
like when DeGrom won all those Cy Young to like 9-11.
And he probably should start the All-Star game for the National League.
Yeah, he should, right?
It should be Skenes against Skubal.
Yeah, young stars.
Yeah.
It might be Kershaw was named to this team by the commissioner's office.
Nah.
Could be Clayton Kershaw.
Nah.
You want to see him more later in the game?
I just don't want to see him.
I think Skenes obviously has deserved it. I mean, Kershaw's only made 8 or 9 starts this year. All right, we'll hear from Michael King coming up, plus a hot take from Doug Gottlieb. We'll share later this hour your chance to win Incubus tickets but Incubus tickets coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll hear from Mike Shildt, and Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5:30 as well. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update's brought to you by Amazon Prime Day. Padres and D-backs start a 4-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish will make his season debut tonight for the Padres. If you love deals, you'll love this. Prime Day is lasting 4 days this year. That's 4 days of unbelievable deals in every category you can think of. So you can save big on everything you're into. Shop Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th.
All right, we've acquired that Mike Shildt sound, the riveting Mike Shildt sound.
Oh, great.
We're going to hear that coming up at 5 p.m. Plus your chance to win Incubus tickets later this hour. Kevin Acee will join us at 5:30. It is a busy time to be covering the Padres. So Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5:30. Plus Michael King speaks.
Wow.
To the media. Do we want to hear from Michael King? He has spoken to the media. You know what he spoke about today?
Probably his progression towards coming back from his sleeping injury.
Spoke about how he's feeling physically, what it's been like to be sidelined, and what Yu Darvish's return means for the Padres. Let's take a listen.
Momentum. Oh yeah, definitely. And obviously it was a nerve thing, so it wasn't like a soft tissue thing, so I don't have to try to make sure that something's healed properly. You know, it's just everything in there was great going into it. It's just nerve shut off, so now I'm getting nerve firing again. It's just that normal buildup, and trying to stay safe, but try to push as much as I can because I want to be back as soon as possible.
How has this period been for you? You know, waiting for it to fire.
It was tough. First couple of weeks, especially not knowing what it was, and not being able to move my arm in a way that I've moved my entire life was definitely weird. But we grinded through it, and yeah, I know I said the other day I feel like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's now just a normal build-up. So I feel like I'm almost in spring training all over again, and just trying to be ready as fast as possible.
Yu Darvish on the mound tonight again. What does that mean for this team?
Oh my God! I mean, you can probably see it in my face. I mean, just seeing him doing his homework over there is nice to see. So he was watching all the video on the Diamondbacks yesterday. So it's just nice to see him back in his routine. He's I don't know, he's a big part of this team, and even without him, he was coaching up a lot of us. So it's really nice to see him back out there competing. And yeah, I can't wait to watch today.
Mike, just for those of us who joined late, what's the latest on what you're doing right now?
Oh, you joined late, so I got to repeat. Now I only threw to 90 feet today, but it was just a normal kind of medium day. Tomorrow will be more of a heavier day. Throw back to 120. I only go back to 120. With maybe some throws off the mound, but just kind of, that's like, instead of doing a little flat ground, I don't like being on flat ground. It'll be off the mound, and then Thursday will be my first time like really fully touching the mound.
So it sounds like this is now developing into more of a real normal progression rather than more of like a touch and feel kind of thing, depending on what you're feeling.
Yeah, I'd say I'm now in week 2 of that. The last week was like the first week where we sat down and we wrote down a progression that we both agreed upon, thought was quick but not too quick, and I keep pushing them to be a little bit quicker than that. So it's it's really just now a communication thing where I have to go out there and tell them exactly how I felt and make sure everything's going the proper direction.
I know Shildt hates putting a timeline in anything, so do you want to go ahead and do that for us instead?
Yeah, I'm on Shilt's side here. I mean, it's really just hard to put a timeline on it. I would love to say a specific date, but it's really just a communication thing. We mapped out this whole week, so that's where I know I'm throwing a bullpen on Thursday, and then we're going from there. So it's really just how I feel on Thursday. We can either speed things up, we have to slow things down. You never know what happens after Thursday.
When you see Darvish, the work he did to get back here, does that amp you up even more for your next step?
Oh, of course. I mean, I would love to follow in Darvish's footsteps in any way possible. But then and just having a guy like that back in our rotation, and obviously we're competing right now for a playoff spot, and it's a big upper for the team, you know. So I think that his presence, I keep looking over at him over there, is going to be huge for not only the starting rotation but the lineup and coaching staff. You just have like a positive outlook going into those games.
Well, he seems pretty optimistic about his return. Says he's hoping to get out there as quickly as possible, kind of like a normal spring training ramp up,
which is better than the alternative, which would be him still figuring out this injury and not throwing and not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, as he said there, and not having a plan in place. I think right now there's a outline of a plan. And if everything goes well, then should see him back sometime next month, as Kevin said. So we'll see. But I do think that the longer this goes on, I would be surprised if we see him earlier than the middle of August.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard.
Yeah,
to
it
know.
really is.
Yeah.
Who knows? This injury is the most random injury you could ever think of.
That's the thing. So, like, how is he going to respond as he ramps up?
Yeah.
But let's
the
just
nerves
say,
firing.
The nervous firing, and let's say they did have him back in the middle of August. It's a big addition.
Huge
addition.
Michael
King. I mean, his 10 starts this year were very good. His 30 starts last year were very good. His career numbers here are sub-3 ERA. If he's that pitcher, amazing. You'll take him whenever you can get him. So hopefully that's the case. Kind of like Darvish. It's like if he's that pitcher, if he's Yu Darvish, you'll take him whenever you get him.
Yeah, realistically, this team has no shot without a healthy Michael King. They just don't. And there's pressure there to come back and be the same guy that you were prior to your injury. Because if he's not, or if he's not healthy, or if he goes out there and throws a couple starts and has to get shut down again because he's feeling some type of way, then I just don't see a realistic path here for this team to make a legitimate run. They're going to need Michael King. And if they don't have Michael King, it's going to be very difficult for them.
The worst thing with these situations, to your point, is when someone gets back and then it's re-shut down. That's the worst thing ever. We saw it last year a little bit with Musgrove when he would be healthy, but then he wasn't fully healthy. And it's always your worst fear. I mean, any pitch could be, your last for a while. I mean, that's just how it works. But that's why, he's like, I have a timeline. The Padres have a timeline. We agree on it. That's why you got to be careful. Yeah. It's not worth 1 week to then potentially lose him later.
Sure.
You'd rather give up the week, the 10 days, make sure. I mean, what does fully healthy even mean? Like Darvish, maybe he's fully healthy right now. We have no idea. Michael King, what does fully healthy even mean? Hopefully when he's back, he gives them a chance to stay healthy for the remainder of the year. That's what you're hoping for from Darvish and King. I think if you add Darvish and King and they look like Darvish and King and they stay out there in the second half, they're a legitimate threat. But if you add Darvish and King and they're not as effective, or if they're in and out of the lineup, it's hard to call them a legitimate playoff threat, is what I would say.
Like when these guys return, Darvish makes his return tonight. King will make his return hopefully next month. They can't go back on the IL. They have to be in the rotation for the remainder of the season, every 5th day or every 6th day or whatever it is. They have to pitch the rest of the season. Yu Darvish, he can't, get hurt again. Because if he does, like you said, I don't have much confidence that he would then be able to come back a second time. Same thing with Michael King.
Yeah.
Then I'm really worried. So Darvish makes his return tonight. That's hopefully a great boost for this team going into the All-Star break, going into the final week before the break. And he's going to have to pitch every 5th day. That's just how it is. And he can't get injured. If he gets shut down again, I would really start wondering, is this it for Yu Darvish?
For Darvish. Do you think this was always kind of the timeline for Darvish? Like he was always going to be on like a innings counter this year? He threw 81 innings last year. Were they going to put him in a situation heading into the year where he was going to throw like 150 coming off 81? Or was it always going to be, well, he's got 100 innings. So when do you want to use him? You want to use him in the second half of the year? You want him healthy in the postseason? Like we had that conversation, I remember, before he got hurt. Like he can't throw 200 innings off an 81 inning season. And here he is now in July. How many starts could that be? 70 games, 15 star. He's probably in that 80 inning trajectory. If he stayed healthy through the postseason, he probably could throw 80 or so innings. I kind of wonder what was the plan heading into the year. Like, were they ever going to let him make 30 starts coming off an 80 innings?
Realistically, 13 to 15 starts this year.
Yep.
And that it's around, 80 to 100 innings potentially, like you said.
Yeah. But I'm saying, do you think that was the plan kind of going into the year? Like, what if he would have been quote unquote healthy starting the year? Would they have shut him down at some point?
I don't think that was the plan because I don't think anybody thought that he was going to be injured.
If he was healthy, though, do you think he would have been given the opportunity to throw like 150 plus innings coming off last year where he only threw 80 innings?
Well, yeah, if he's healthy.
I know, but sometimes they say like when you throw like it's rare when a pitcher doubles his innings from the year prior. I guess it's different maybe with Yu Darvish because he's 39. And he wasn't hurt last year.
Yeah, I just don't see Yu Darvish ever having a full season ever again in his career.
I don't think there. How many more years will Yu Darvish pitch the big leagues?
1 or 2.
I would
tops.
guess 1.
Yeah.
After this year, and 2 tops. So you're now counting on is he gonna make 30 starts next year? He's gonna make 30 starts the year after that as a 40-year-old.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah, me too. But it is good to get him back. And again, his numbers in a Padres uniform in his career, he's been darn effective.
He's been solid.
He's been very, very solid. They just need to keep him out there. And again, in the postseason, if you can get him in the postseason, I'd feel good about Yu Darvish being out there healthy in the postseason. You'd feel great about Michael King being out there.
You mean you wouldn't?
In the postseason.
You mean you wouldn't be excited about
Kolek?
Stephen Kolek or Randy Vasquez out there instead of Yu Darvish?
No, they need Darvish.
They need Darvish in the worst way possible because if you, like, hypothetically speaking, you go into a playoff series and your rotation is fully healthy, which would be a big if.
Yep.
Big if. I think the rotation in the wild card round would be a combination. I don't know who would start game 1, but I'm just saying a combination of Pivetta, King, and Darvish. Right?
Cease on the outside looking in.
If Cease doesn't turn it around and his playoff numbers are awful,
and he's walking at the end of the year anyway.
Yeah. And Darvish in his postseason career, especially with the Padres, has been very reliable. Nick Pivetta deserves to get a start in the postseason if they get there because he's been great all season long. And Michael King, you saw what he did last year in the postseason, right? He was fantastic. And he is their ace. So, like if you make the postseason and you had a healthy rotation, that's my top 3 right there.
And you know what I always say? It's a good problem.
It's a good problem.
If you're worrying about, hey, who's going to start game 3? Is it Nick Pivetta or Dylan Cease? Is it Yu Darvish or Michael King? Making it up. That's a good thing. There's been other years where they threw a true bullpen game in game 2 of a wild card series against the St. Louis Cardinals. No, it was actually game 3. They threw 9 pitchers in game 3 against the Cardinals.
It was a Craig Stammen game.
And they had no starters maybe for the Dodger series that they were swept in.
They had Zach Davies. Mike Clevenger threw an inning and got injured. His arm blew up. Zach Davies. And then they were scared to pitch Chris Paddock.
Right. So you'd prefer what we're talking about here with Cease and King and Darvish.
Well, even
Pivetta.
Even last year, you had a game 4 start where Dylan Cease completely just crumbled under the pressure. He could not pitch on 3 days rest. He looked awful, and it was because not Yu Darvish. It was because Joe Musgrove got hurt.
Yeah, that thing completely backfired.
So, like, this is a massive if with this team, massive if. But the whole entire plan was to have 4 legitimate starters this year with Darvish, King, Pivetta, and Cease. And that's why they chose the route what they chose to go Pivetta in the offseason instead of trying to pick up a bat or a catcher. They thought pitching was more important than that. And I would tend to agree that pitching is the most important. And if they get to a postseason, 4 healthy starters, that's what they've been trying to do for the last 5-6 years.
And that bullpen that they have right now.
Exactly.
One of the best in the game. That's a good combination. All right, on the other side, Doug Gottlieb has a hot take in the WNBA that we'll share with you. Plus, we're giving away Incubus tickets, and we'll hear from Mike Shildt coming up at 5 p.m. And Kevin Acee joins the show live at 5:30. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. Hey guys, it is Jon and Jim again for the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place, and it is Monday Night Live all July long. Join us every Monday in July, a chance to win big. 10 winners every hour, 7, 8, 9 p.m. Your odds are better than ever. Onyx players will receive an extra $100 cash bonus on top of their winnings. Plus, earn entries all month long by playing and get 2 times the entries on Tuesdays with at least $500 cash for all winners and a chance to win up to $50,000 in the big deal game. It's a promotion you're not going to want to miss.
And every Sunday, enjoy lobster brunch at Prime Cut. Indulge in a decadent brunch featuring lobster tails and hand-carved prime rib, served every Sunday from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. It's a perfect way to treat yourself to a Sunday well spent.
And catch all the action at Tony Gwynn Sports Pub. Experience the ultimate sports showdown. Catch the Padres in a great environment with great food. Tony Gwynn Sports Pub, where fandom meets fantastic, at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. All right, if you like Incubus, stay tuned. Chance to win tickets coming up to see Incubus. This is a concert that is Saturday, July 19th, so 2 weeks away. Pair of tickets to see Incubus with the Manchester Orchestra, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets, again, available right now, Ticketmaster.com. And the show will be Saturday, July 19th. We'll tell you how to win those tickets coming up in the next 4 or 5 minutes. Doug Gottlieb, you know Doug Gottlieb, who still has the most interesting career ever because he's a Division I head coach and hosts a weekday radio show, I think, on Fox Sports Radio still.
Yeah, I know Doug Gottlieb.
Is that not the most ridiculous thing, by the way?
It's pretty ridiculous.
That is so absurd. So his take, or is it awful announcing? I thought I put the link in. He had an interesting take today, and I think it was on his radio show. And the take is this, that WNBA expansion is a mistake. And the quote is this: more likely, they're just more teams that people don't want to watch. The WNBA announcing last week they're expanding by 3 teams, adding 3 expansion cities. I think they're going from 15 teams to 18 teams or 13 teams to 16 teams, something in that area. They announced the 3 cities. But Doug Gottlieb says it's a mistake. More likely, they're just more teams that people don't want to watch. WNBA is in its like best era ever, obviously. Now, Caitlin Clark's a huge reason why. Angel Reese, part of that story as well. Is adding teams a mistake for the WNBA?
So San Francisco just added a team this past year.
Yep.
Joe Lacob, the owner of the Golden State Warriors, bought this team for $50 million. They're now valued of over $500 million.
Is that right?
Yeah. Now, a lot that has to do with Joe Lacob. They own their arena, so it's not like a community. It's not. It's their own arena, so that helps with the valuation of the franchise. But still, ticket merchandise. They lead the league in attendance this year. Their revenue has gone through the roof, and their team is valued at over $500 million.
And they don't have Caitlin Clark. They don't have Angel Reese. They don't have Paige Beckers.
I couldn't name a single player on the Valkyrie, but they are making a lot of money. Now, they to me are kind of a little bit of an outlier just because of the location and who bought them, and they own the arena that they play in. It's so that helps with their evaluation of the franchise. But you ever see that meme where it was like the worst person I agree with?
Is that the Doug Gottlieb point?
That's the Doug Gottlieb point. I rarely agree with Doug Gottlieb on anything, but in this case, it's hard to disagree with him because Caitlin Clark is the bell cow for the WNBA. Without Caitlin Clark, we've seen this year the ratings go in the tank. Paige Beckers is great. Angel Reese has been much better of late, and she has a following. There's no doubt about it. That's that. I'm sorry that there just aren't a league that's going to prosper without Caitlin Clark. If you add more teams, you're not going to be adding 3 more Caitlin Clarks. You're just going to be adding more teams without Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, it's an interesting take that I haven't fully thought out, truthfully. So they're going from 15 teams to 18 teams. By comparison, the NBA is currently 30.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't expanded before San Francisco since 2008. So it's not like they've been going from 8 to 18 overnight. They've gone from like 14 to 15 took 15 years.
Yeah.
And now 15 to 18 is actually going to play out over 5 years. 28, 29, 30 are the years of expansion. And the markets are Cleveland, Detroit, Philly. So Midwest and East are the markets. I don't know. I mean, I could be convinced either way. I don't think 18 is some absurd number, where I do understand the point that Caitlin Clark is the golden goose, and without her, is the expansion warranted? Like, is basically the reason you're expanding because she's made you a lot of money, and now to capitalize off that, you can put this sport in other markets to take advantage of that wave, that Caitlin Clark effect, and is it sustainable long term? What about 10 years when Caitlin Clark isn't playing in the WNBA, or 12 years from now?
Yeah, I have an idea. Why don't you let this moment in time breathe a little bit and build off of what you have right now? Use what you have right now to make the league and all the 15 teams you have in it the best that it could be, instead of adding more. Like sometimes quantity is quantity over quality, or what's the saying?
Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity. Yeah.
right.
I don't know, stupid term.
Just have just do a good job with what you have. Don't get too thin.
Yeah. You have a good thing going right now. And why do you need to add more? Just embrace what you have and make what you have the best it possibly can be, instead of adding more.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Well, I think they're already, and to your point, I think they're already adding Toronto and Portland before the Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia. So they are expanding at a rapid clip. Remember, Major League Soccer really expanded at a rapid clip, obviously. Looks like the WNBA is doing something similar. Yeah, I'm interested to see like the arc of the WNBA popularity. Like, is it going to continue to maintain this level? Will it go up as Caitlin Clark continues to play in the league? Like, is the popularity only going up? In the years ahead, will it level out because there won't be as much excitement around Caitlin Clark after 2, 3, 4, 5 years? I don't know.
As she continues to get better, and as she and her team continue to play in big games and they keep winning, if she gets put on the national spotlight, it will only help the WNBA. How could it not?
Right.
And the Fever are a really good team, and she hasn't played a lot this year. Just imagine what they're going to be like when she's added back to the roster fully healthy.
Right.
So if they could win a WNBA championship in the next couple of years, and Caitlin Clark can, win an MVP, it's just going to only help your league. And I understand that they want to try to capitalize on this moment, but you need to capitalize and make every team that you already have right now, as far as popularity goes, the most popular it could be, instead of keep adding to a league that is still working on that.
Shoot, is the NBA expansion a good idea? They keep talking about Las Vegas and Seattle are adding 2 teams. Are there enough stars in the NBA to take the talent pool and spread it to 2 additional teams?
Well, the NBA has a much better foundation than the WNBA.
100%. But would you agree that there are some franchises that lack star power or lack relevancy, that if you took the current talent, or they say this in the NFL, there aren't even 32 good quarterbacks right now. What if they went to 36? You know, the NFL, the most popular sport in America.
And I'm sure the NFL would love that.
If they went to 36
teams.
Oh,
the expansion, more games. The NFL would love if there were year-round.
I think all these sports were, or let's say baseball went from 30 to 32. Is there enough pitching to support 2 additional teams? It's thin enough as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to make the point that, I could make that argument with the WNBA because I think the point's been made with the NFL. Are there enough quarterbacks with the NBA? Are there enough stars with Major League Baseball? Is there enough pitching to sustain expansion?
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's the problem you come across when you deal with expansion is you're already dealing with teams that don't have any star power.
Right.
So then you're going to add more teams that won't have star power. So instead of, let's just say 3 teams without any stars, now you're going to have 6 teams without any stars. And it's just going to dilute the product more.
Right. Or right now in the NFL, 8 teams without quarterbacks and turn it into 10 or 12.
Right.
If that were the case.
Yeah. And it's so hard to find a quarterback in the first place that it's not like, oh, we'll just add 3 more teams and they'll be fine.
Right.
Like, no, you're adding 3 more teams and they're still going to have the same problems that the 8 teams that don't have quarterbacks already have.
Now that we've talked about it, I think it's a bad idea. I think do what you do well. You have something that's being successful, is growing, is popular. Don't try to get rich quick on it. Just sustain it for as long a period of time as you can and see what it looks like in 5 or 10 years.
Build the brand that is growing right now. Don't add to it. Build what you already have. Make what you have the best it could possibly be.
Don't water it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if we're doing the wrap-up show once a night and it's has great success. It's like, oh, let's expand and do another 2 shows. It's like
right with like different hosts, and no, that's not.
It's like no, let's just keep what we're doing, and expanding on that and making it the best it possibly can be.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of like that saying, "Don't put the cart before the horse."
Right.
To where it's like, come on, guys, let's turn a profit for the first time in your league's history. Then we'll talk about adding, 4 or 6 more teams or all these teams instead of acting like, we're going to make all this money in the league. Wait until you do it, then start expanding, because it feels like they're going to expand and then it's going to be like they overspent their means and now it's like, oh God, we have all these extra teams and now we didn't make the money we thought we were going to make, and now what are we going to do?
Yeah, or nay on WNBA expansion 70470. Start it with the word team. We'll hear from Mike Shildt, his pregame comments to the media on the other side, and Kevin Acee will join us live coming up at 5:30 as we get you ready for Padres and D-backs, game 1 of a 4-game series from Petco Park at 6:40. This is Jon and Jim on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update is brought to you by Amazon Prime Day. Padres start a 4-game series tonight against the D-backs. 6:40 first pitch. Yu Darvish will make his season debut tonight for the Padres. If you love deals, you'll love this. Prime Day is lasting 4 days this year. That's 4 days of unbelievable deals in every category you can think of, so you can save big on everything you're into. Shop Prime Day July 8th through the 11th.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
Chado joined by Jason Adam and Fernando Tatis Jr. as all-stars for the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr. having to change his plans. He told the media postgame he had booked a mini vacation, expecting not to be named an all-star, which kind of tells you about his all-star candidacy if he had already booked a mini vacation.
Kind of very telling there.
It's pretty telling.
We all love Tatis. We want him to perform like he was performing at the start of the season. We have not seen that consistently for the last 2.5 months.
I'm sorry, he's not an all-star. Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California is going on. Final hour of Jon and Jim. It's hard to believe. We will have Kevin Acee on the show. This thing is just flown by. Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5:30. We'll hear from Mike Shildt momentarily. If you missed it earlier, later this hour, you'll hear from AJ Preller on the upcoming deadline. We didn't give away the Incubus tickets, guys.
Oh, man.
There's an Incubus song I really like.
Pardon You.
Is that the song?
It's Pardon Me, but yeah.
Yeah, you know that song.
Bro, you could ask me 1,000,000 times to say one lyric from that song, or at least one sentence from that song, and I could not get it.
Incubus?
Not one.
Pardon me?
Okay, does he say pardon me while I'm gone?
Yeah.
Is that what he says?
That's basically. I don't think we can play it because we get fined by playing music.
Even though we're a company that
you're not going to
plays
play
music.
It,
I just won't put it on YouTube.
Okay, what does this sound like?
Hold on.
I like it.
I got to get it to the part where Jim would actually know it.
I don't think Jim's going to know it.
I don't think I'll know it.
I was a big fan, seriously. It's been a while. In 2006, this thing they had hits, man. Yeah, pardon me. You know this song.
I do.
Thank you.
Just like Billy Idol. You hear 6 Billy Idol songs every day, probably on the way to work. You're like, I don't know who Billy Idol is.
It's a good song.
That's a good song. All right, call right now if you want those tickets. We have 2 free tickets to see Incubus with Manchester Orchestra, which turns out is just a band.
Not an orchestra.
Not an orchestra. This is North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, Saturday, July 19th. Tickets at infoticketmaster.com. Caller 3 you're going. 877-767-4760. 2 free tickets to see Incubus with Manchester Orchestra, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, Saturday, July 19th. 877-767-4760. Pick up the phone and call right now. All right, let's hear from Mike Shildt, Brent. This is pregame with the media. Mike Shildt, as the Padres get ready for the Diamondbacks. And this starts with the Padres All-Star selections.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, good for Jason Adam, Fernando Tatis. Toddy's not a surprise. Probably should be on his 5th All-Star game by now, but, he's happy for this 3rd one. Jason Adam is, an unsung hero of the team. And, relievers, especially setup guys, they don't usually get a lot of love. But they're very important to how we, have success. And Jason's been a big part of our success last year after the trade acquisition, and this year, of course. And for him to get that acknowledgement rightfully, it means a lot for us. And also had some guys that, are on the outside looking in, but it is a good league.
Yeah, yesterday you mentioned that if somebody from the bullpen did get in, it really represented the entire group because they've really been a great unit working together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got 4 guys down there that if you put any of their names in the All-Star game, you'd say, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And all of them are equally deserving, and Jason was able to get the nod. But it's a special group, big part of our club.
Did you realize when you called him he was in church when you gave him the good news?
I did. I did. He didn't surprise me, too, because he's actually, we're both, are strong believers, and he's invited me to his church. I just can't quite make it on a day game, but he let me know where he was.
Yu Darvish going for you today, another exciting moment. how exciting is it to get him back, not just for himself and the team, but what he does for all the players around him as well?
Yeah, well said, Scan. He's a very important part of our club. Obviously, the performance piece is big. We'll get him out there tonight, see what it looks like, and evaluate how much how long he goes. But just having him back, the thing about Darvish, similar to Joe, but in different ways they go about it. They're very strong leaders in our clubhouse, and Yu does in a very low key, demure manner. But he does have a presence in our clubhouse. But having him back and being able to do both is really important to us.
Went 4 innings in his last rehab outing. It sounds like 5 innings is the whole expectation. Maybe we just have to play it there.
We're going to play it by ear. We're not going to push him. We're going to see how he's working. If he's working and is efficient, then we'll be able to go a little further. If it's not, then we'll make an adjustment.
What do you enjoy most about watching Yu Darvish on the mound?
His artistry. You can see understand how to pitch, and it's just the different spins and the different ability. It's pitching is ability to change speeds and hit spots. In our game today, it's a lot more velocity and max effort, and you're seeing more of an artist with a paintbrush.
Given how tough the schedule was in June and how well you've played at home, how nice is it to have a stretch like this going into the break?
Very nice. Yeah, listen, we have to win games on the road too. We embrace the road, but we come back from the road and we come to Petco Park with this kind of crowd and this kind of enthusiasm, and you can't help but want to play and play well here.
Can you take us through today's moves?
It's Hart who did a great job. Tough conversation, right? You go out and basically do your job to almost perfection and get a win, and but he completely understands where we're at, and we had to make a move for Darvish, and we did, and have used some of our bullpen, and so we needed to keep our bullpen intact and as fresh an arm as possible. So Darvish's activation impacted Hart.
King seems pretty fired up, and he's making some progress.
Yeah, he's fired up, and we're pretty excited too. So it's good for Michael. He's had a real consistent. Again, we're in a little uncharted territory what he's dealing with, and but just in general, when guys are recovering well and starting to gain more ability to, they're pain-free and they're more range of motion and strength and maintaining strength, and then getting a chance with a baseball back in his hand, get a chance to increase his volume, get a chance to increase the, the velocity of what he's doing and the intensity of it, and then recover well and add on to it. Now he's been able to put together, I don't know what the number would be, 7 to 10 day stretch of that. And so he's starting to really escalate towards a real throwing program that, includes sides, and start to put together a soft calendar for what it can look like, moving forward, as long as he continues to move forward and recover well.
What's that soft calendar look like?
It's got a king on it. It's got a crown on it, which is cool. Scott Hacker does our physical therapy and rehab. He put a little crown on it, so it's got that. He's got Manning with Manning had his logo on it. So it looks like, being able to sketch out when he can start to have a bullpen and how many bullpens and what happens in between. And then, what looks like a simulated game, and, just more of a typical build-up factor.
Mike, as of right now, Arizona is just 4 games below you guys. Does it safe to say it's a special series for you at home, or is it just another regular series?
It's both. It's another game, but every game has ramifications. Every series has ramifications. So, we expect to go out and play good baseball and take care of, we're always looking to win series. Just got coming off winning a series. It was a big series in the moment, and that's the thing. I've had guys in the past say, today's the biggest game of the year, boys. And it's really true, because the more you take care of business on a daily basis, the more you get to where you go to. And, you win series, you win a World Series. So that's how this works.
Win series.
Win series, you win a World Series?
That's Shilt's motto.
I love that. So wait, the point being there, if you win all the series in the playoffs, You win the World Series.
Yeah, you don't have to sweep. You just have to win the series.
It's such a good point.
Yeah, it's a really good point by Shildt.
Man, he was in a mood today. He said
he was 30 minutes late. I don't think anything that he said there was groundbreaking, though.
Well, earlier you had teased it that way, like nothing he says is riveting. No, he didn't say anything groundbreaking other than he gets us a big league, even though he wants more All-Stars. And he said Tatis should be a 5-time All-Star. But I was going back through it. I'm like, well, 2020, nobody was an All-Star. And the other years he's been hurt.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say that. And he's also pumped up for Yu Darvish, for the artistry of him pitching on the mound. I do love for the artistry of Yu Darvish, the craftiness, the pitching aspect.
Mike Shildt just has so much. He loves watching these players play. The privilege that he gets to watch these players play baseball.
Dude, I'm telling you, listen, if this is the 6-4 stretch that you were talking about where they start 2-1, then like I feel as if this is a good opportunity against a Diamondbacks team that's 3-8 in their last 11. Now they do get Corbin Carroll back. He missed 19 days, I think Chris Garagiola told us, with a broken hand. It's 19 days with a broken hand. They are still dealing with some injuries to their offense. He says their pitching, I mean, their pitching has really let them down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many times have I said, maybe this is the series the Padres offense comes to life against bad pitching? We'll see.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I'm just hoping if they do win this series, which let's see if they can. But if they do win this series, it's everything we'd asked for. They're in perfect position to be right where they need to be. 10 games over 500 or more at the All-Star break. Well better position than they were a year ago heading into the All-Star break.
At some point, this team, the way that they've been playing, that's just who they are. You can't all of a sudden just magically pull a 180 and say, all right, we're going to be a team that scores 7 runs per game. They have the talent, but at some point, this is who they are. They're going to have to win with pitching and defense, and they're going to have some timely hitting thrown in there. They're not going to be a team that hits for a high average with runners in scoring position, because they have been very mid this year with that. It feels like, Xander Bogaerts, this is just who he is, a 700 OPS guy. All right. Gavin Sheets has had a nice year. And until you see the turnaround from Merrill and Tatis, this team is just going to be who they are. They're going to have to win close games. It's not going to be high scoring. They're not going to, put up a bunch of runs on the board. They're not going to be great with runners in scoring position. They're going to have to win with pitching.
Yeah, I remember, I think, saying on Friday, I'm like, they're going to beat up Kumar Rocker, right? Of the Rangers, no, typical struggle. Trailed 2-0 for most of the game, scratched across a run, eventually won the game late. But you're right. I mean, that's kind of been who they have been so far this year, which is why AJ Preller wants to address his offense potentially. You'll hear from AJ Preller on the other side. Plus, Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5:30 live on the show. Stay with us. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. If you can hear us, it's because you're on the app or you're on YouTube. Because I don't think we're on the radio.
No.
Are we on the radio in general?
My guess is, it says.
Are we back?
Oh, no.
Wah. Oh,
we
are.
Hey,
Jon and Jim.
radio.
San Diego Sports 760. We apologize for those technical difficulties.
Do you think they're secretly trying to? I'm not going to say it.
No, you're not. No, Jon and Jim, come on. Show's iconic.
Yeah.
All right, we started the show,
4
Jim.
hours.
We're going to hear from Kevin Acee about it. Thankfully, we'll have
promotion.
Kevin on the radio as opposed to not on the radio. Kevin Acee will join us in 10 minutes. We started the show talking about what AJ Preller told MLB Network Radio. And this was about the Padres approaching the deadline and their needs. So AJ Preller, in terms of the shopping list for the Padres at the trade deadline, let's take a listen and react.
But again, I think the biggest thing is, from my standpoint in this chair, we're prepared because we've got great scouts, analysts, staff, coaching staff that, they all participate in the process. We feel like we have a pretty good pulse on the league and who's out there. It doesn't always mean you're going to make great decisions, but I think we're in position, with talented players in our organization, both at the major league and minor league level, to at least be in these conversations. And then you got to, as a GM, evaluate like how realistic it is that your team can win and contend, and then try to weigh that out versus future, and wanting to make sure that's a sustained run. So, we've had the chance here, over the last 5 years to be in 3 playoff runs, and we've had 5 in a row where we've been in the mix till the end. And at the end of the day, we'll look at our team here this year. Getting Darvish King back would be huge. The bullpen's been strong. We've got a lot of different weapons in the pen. We've had some you could add to a strength. And on the offense side, it's probably rounding out the depth of the lineup. I think, like you mentioned, the top of the lineup should be strong. And you look up and you've got a Jake Cronenworth hitting 7th and 8th on some nights, but you've got to be deep, 1 through 9. And I think probably adding a bat or two is something that we're going to look at here in the next few weeks. To try to help our team get to October.
Oh, a bat or two.
A bat or two.
A bat or two. A bat or two. A bat or
two.
A multitude of bats.
I believe him when he says it. I really do. I think he's it's like, we're going to run right down the middle, stop us. Like, I think he's going to call everyone on their bats. He's going to call everyone, hey, it's AJ. Haven't heard from you in 10 minutes.
Do you still want to?
What are your thoughts on Adolis Garcia?
Like, AJ, stop calling me.
AJ, we told you
nothing has changed, dude.
For at least 1 year.
Nothing has changed. Did you see this Jesse Rogers piece?
It did.
Earlier today.
About the deadline historically or whatever?
There was a funny excerpt here from back in 2020.
Yep.
From Jerry DePito.
About Austin Nola. Yep.
Says that this is about AJ.
Okay.
They were trying to fortify and they needed a catcher, DePito said. We had Austin Nola, who was going bananas for us in that short season.
Mm-hmm.
Nola was hitting 306 with a 151 OPS plus. Then AJ Preller called. Quote, we were in full rebuild mode, but didn't have much interest in moving him simply because it's a tough position to fill. He's a great makeup guy, DePito said. But Preller would not take no for an answer. Quote, he threw out a slew of names and said, we will overpay. DePito recalls, AJ is just that way.
And that was for Austin Nola.
Austin freaking Nola.
That wasn't Juan Soto.
No.
And they overpaid.
Could you imagine the conversations he had with
Skenes?
Rizzo about,
hey, we will move the franchise to your ballpark. No, I mean, he's at times moved heaven and earth. Now, what he said there on MLB Network Radio was like, you got to know your team and your ability to, like, can you do it or not? Do you fully believe in your team to go all in?
That's why I think if at worst they're just 500 the rest of this month.
Oh, the rest of this month.
And they go to the trade deadline
7-8 up.
7-8 games above 500. You really don't think AJ Preller is going to go like all the way in here? Because if you don't, you have not been watching.
But calling it overpaying, the difference being like in 2020, for example, that stupid 60-game year.
Yeah.
They were like 20-10. Like they're like, we're going to win a World Series. We're 20-10. I mean, it's like, let's go win a World Series. We're 20-10. It was just a weird time. It was a very weird time. But no, I'm with you. I tend to think he's going to throw caution to the wind because it's just who he is.
The team last year at the deadline was what? I don't even know. I know they had an 8-2 road trip. They started 10-2 out of the break.
Well, that means they would be 8-9 over. Because they were 1 over out of the break, lost again. They were 8-9 over.
And he traded everybody for two of the best relievers on the market.
That's right.
You add in Brian Hoeing. You add in Martin Perez. He's already traded earlier that year for Luis Arraez and Dylan Cease. You don't think he's going to try to do the same thing this deadline if his team is 8-9 games over 500? Are you serious?
I hope he does. All right, Kevin Acee is going to join us in 6 minutes. Real quickly, let's sneak in a call here from Matt. Matt, thanks for calling in. You're on with Jon and Jim.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to throw a scenario to you guys out there with Mike Rizzo being fired from the Nationals.
Yeah.
Hire him?
Do you think there's a world where John Seidler maybe looks at AJ and thinks, well, maybe I might want to limit spending a lot more than what Peter did, and looks at Mike Rizzo's track record with the Nationals being able to be competitive even with ownership limiting their spending?
Matt, thank you. First of all, wouldn't that be fascinating?
That would be.
Hire Mike Rizzo, who was the architect of the trade that returned them that prospect pool.
He's like, what the hell? I traded for all those players. I don't have them.
It is an interesting point. The Nationals have always been very cautious in spending with their ownership. AJ's not going anywhere. But now the theoretical is an interesting one. Mike Rizzo, I think, is a very good GM. I think he'll get another job if he wants one. But honestly, I don't think AJ Preller's going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, here's the thing that hasn't been really talked about.
Okay.
He has not been given a contract extension, John.
He's signed through 2026.
If they don't make the postseason, are you really going to give a guy a contract extension after missing the postseason?
Are you going to get rid of him?
I'm just asking the question.
I'm asking it back.
Are you? Are you going
to get rid of him because he's under contract?
It's an interesting
duck year.
It's an interesting thing to go into a season without a contract extension. That's for sure. As a general manager, that's kind of like it's like taboo territory there.
You think Mike Rizzo's just standing by right now, waiting for the Padres to miss out?
I don't think that. But you got a guy who is not under contract after the 2026 season, and when you look at the deadline now, of course he's going to go out and buy.
Because he's not under contract?
Yeah, if he was under contract for that like 6 years, maybe he might hedge, or depending on where they're at, he might go, hey, maybe we can get something back for Dylan Cease here.
He's going to mortgage their future for
this
job.
He's not going to freeze peace. He's not going to mortgage the future for this for another year. But I mean, it is interesting that he has no contract extension.
It is. Here's the thing. We'll talk to Kevin Acee.
Especially after last year. He didn't get a contract extension for last year.
I think the Padres are going to be in. I think with the Darvish King deadline,
of course they're going to be in.
If they're in, he ain't going anywhere.
In the
postseason. And if they make the postseason.
They made a trade deadline to go in at the trade deadline.
He's getting an extension if they make the postseason. Kevin Acee on the other side.
Yeah.
Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt. You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Get cash now without touching your low rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The rapid equity loan program at Loan Pronto is truly amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, cut their monthly expenses by $1,800, a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, your home equity, it's yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Call now. Start the conversation. 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Get debt relief now at loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This update's brought to you by Bill Howe Plumbing, Padres and D-backs. Tonight, 6:40 first pitch. Sort of 4-game series. Yu Darvish will make his season debut for the Padres tonight. Lineup news. Ketel Marte has 5 minutes ago just been scratched for the Diamondbacks. So we'll get an update in a moment there. Traffic may be slow, but your drains don't have to be. The experts at Bill Howe have been helping San Diego with their plumbing needs for 45 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOW because we know how. License number 488-413.
All right, we'll catch up with Kevin Acee, or hope to catch up with Kevin Acee momentarily. Jim just mentioned it's significant news for the reeling Diamondbacks without one of their best players, if not their best player. Ketel Marte, over 3 WAR, 300 hitter with power, out of the lineup tonight. Scratched from the lineup for the Diamondbacks. We'll see what the reason is. They've been dealing with injuries. And for Yu Darvish, who will not be facing one of the better hitters in the National League tonight.
That is a huge break for the Padres tonight. Yeah. Now, I don't know why he was scratched.
Neither do I.
But yeah, I think without Ketel Marte in that lineup, that's a huge help for Darvish and for the Padres tonight.
Yep, undisclosed as of now. We can ask Kevin about that coming up. I'm not sure if Kevin's even aware. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider. Did you see this, Kevin? That Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks has been scratched from their lineup. Kind of putting you on the spot, but you know as to why, because that's a significant loss for Arizona, and obviously Yu Darvish making his return. That's some big news, isn't it?
It is. Don't have any idea what that would be about.
All right.
None.
Yeah. Yeah. We're curious as well. All right. So Yu Darvish makes his return tonight. We haven't seen him since Game 5 of the National League Divisional Series. What will you be looking for tonight? And it feels like you being YOU, you, Kevin, not YU. And it feels like the biggest
track. Okay. Let's start over. No, I'm kidding.
What will you be looking for? And it feels like the biggest thing is, how does he feel coming out of this start?
Yes, that is. Now, like, if anyone can come in after not doing a rehab, not pitching for whatever that is, 8 months, it's Yu Darvish, right? Like, I would be surprised if he's awesome, but then I wouldn't be surprised if he's awesome. And then after that, we can parse down whatever the usual lack of command a guy has or that he doesn't have, whatever. And then, yes, it comes down to how does Yu Darvish feel? Can he make his start on Saturday, which I assume is when it would be the next one? And what does he look like going forward? But this, regardless, is a big night because even if it's like we don't have any definitive conclusions at the end of it, it's a big night because it's a step toward finding out one of the two gigantic pieces in your rotation. Are you going to have them?
And the other gigantic piece is Michael King. He spoke today. Looks like he has started throwing, and the nerve, according to him, is now firing. And you wrote earlier in your newsletter today that the expectation is for him to return possibly sometime next month. What does he need to do to make sure that timeline doesn't have any hiccups in it?
Not have a setback and continue to progress like he has. Like, this is a really good sign that it was that Friday in Cincinnati. So 2 Fridays ago, he was out there really sort of starting what he called his progression. And now here we are, where going to go off the mound supposedly in a few days. Like, that's big, like, because that means there haven't been any setbacks. So then you could start, and we obviously don't know the exact, and they might not know the exact, but we can start, go, okay, so light bullpen, touch and feel, whatever you want to call this, that's really nothing, right? Like, a guy's going to get on the front of the mound and barely throw. That's great. Now, what does he do 3 days later? And then what does he do 3 days later? How's he feel in between that? And then we can start to extrapolate that out. And you're talking about, if everything goes great, you're talking about early to mid-August.
And we were talking about this earlier today, Kevin. Like, Michael King, to me, feels like one of the most important pieces of this team, because it's really hard to envision this team making a legitimate run if they make the postseason without a healthy Michael King. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think they could get to the postseason because there's a lot of things that go into that, and that includes what do other teams do. And I do think this team has the potential to be stronger than it looks right now. But I would agree with you, like a deep run. Now, that said, who did the Dodgers have in their rotation last year? I don't know that the Padres bullpen is as good as the Dodgers bullpen ended up being last year. That was kind of incredible that what they did to the Padres, and then to make it through to a 7-game or a 6-game series against the Mets and a 5-game series against the Yankees. That was incredible. It's possible to do, but I would go ahead and place everything I have to bet alongside of you that, not that either one of us bet, but I'm just saying I would to say that without Michael King or a suitable replacement, I would even say without Michael King and, Nick Pivetta pitching like he has, and Dylan Cease pitching better than he has, and or Yu Darvish stepping up and being for the second half what he was for 6 starts last year. Like, they need 3 solid starters. And when I say solid, I mean guys that in the playoffs can give you 5, 6 really good innings.
Yeah, completely agree. Kevin Acee is with us right now, our Padres insider. Padres D-backs coming up game 1 of a 4-game series. Yu Darvish's return. What did you make of Mike Shilt's transparency? I think it was Saturday night when he spoke on Tatis, and he said that he kind of wished that he didn't carry so much on himself and feel like he's got to do so much. Now, since this, Tatis has been named an All-Star and reached base safely, I think 4 times yesterday, and had a big double in the game. But I guess it's twofold. Are you surprised Tatis ultimately made the All-Star game? And are you surprised to hear Mike Shildt talk so honestly about some of Tatis' struggles here over the last 2 months?
I feel like he'd come close to saying that, but I think that, yes, there was a certain degree of candor there that you could say is surprising coming from Mike Shildt. Mm-hmm. But you also can read some hints. And like I said, he's come close to saying that before. He has been kind of overboard. Not that it's not true, but like overboard and certainly uncharacteristic of Mike Shildt a couple times, talking about how great Fernando Tatis Jr. is. I feel like he's sending messages there. He also has, I believe, sent messages to the team about, selectivity and being stubborn and getting back to being that team at the plate. Like, Mike's in that kind of mode, which, if you want to read into it a certain way, is, I don't want to say desperation, but is like, we've reached a point where Mike needs to get some messages across. He's obviously doing that inside the clubhouse, and then sometimes you take it public.
Another player at the top of the lineup that's struggling right now is Jackson Merrill. I feel like, he also wears his heart on his sleeve, just like Fernando Tatis Jr. does.
Yeah.
Could you say the same thing about Jackson Merrill that we're saying about Fernando Tatis Jr. mentally?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, yeah, Jackson does wear it, and he's having a tough time. I mean, this is obviously the first time, and you could say this is the first time Fernando's gone through this, but Fernando's had some things in his career, right? And honestly, what he did in 2023 for a period of 50, 60 games wasn't really that much better than this. Maybe a little more power. I have to parse it down. It's hard to keep track of, but it's really not that much different than this. This is Jackson's first time ever struggling. Last year it was like he spoke it into existence, right? And he just did it. And it was marvelous. It was because, it was fantastic. Like, it was just beautiful to watch, and to watch a guy grow and to progress. And then here we are now where he's going through what virtually everyone goes through in the major leagues. So he is having a tough time with it. It's clear. I don't think I'm very careful about putting thoughts, words, feelings into guys' heads or speaking for them, but I think that's pretty clear that Jackson is struggling with this.
What's interesting is if Tatis and Merrill get back to looking like Tatis and Merrill, it looks like putting Arise in that cleanup spot, Kevin, has really worked. I mean, he's been so good in his career with men on base. He's hit the ball extremely well since he's been moved to the cleanup spot. Do you feel as if that may stick for the foreseeable future, the way Luis Arise is playing?
The way that he's playing, if Fernando can be that spark, and if, and that's why Mike has him there. That's the best explanation there is, that he has these two energetic, fast, guys that can make things happen at the top of the lineup. And if they are, and they're on base, and singles and doubles perhaps by Luis Arise work, because yes, he has gotten back to his balls finding holes, and especially with runners in scoring position, then yeah, I think that's great. I don't know that I'm going to get too excited about any of it, but especially I think the lineup could work a different way too. But the thinking about having Arise there in that spot, yes, that could really work out for him.
You've been writing a lot recently about Luis Campusano. The catching position has been talked about so much this year with the struggles of Diaz and Maldonado, even though, out of the blue moon, they have great games like the other night. Maldonado had a really good game. But how close are we to potentially seeing Luis Campusano, come back to the big leagues? And would he come back to be like a DH, or would he actually get time behind the plate?
I don't see it coming back to be the DH. They like what they've been doing, at least like getting guys a break. But though, of course, if you have more breaks after you get through that big start to the second half, the way it's been talked about to me is to be catching, that he is better than people think. That's at least what they're hoping, what they're saying. And that there are people in the organization who don't value, as much as Mike Shildt does, as much as Bob Melvin did, the catcher behind there being like the defense being the end all. Not to say that Mike Shildt doesn't think offense is important too, but he's been very clear about how he feels about his catchers and what they're doing. And there are some that just say, we can get by with Luis Campusano back there if the guy's hitting 260 and giving us some slug and doing it with some consistency, and that we need to find out at some point. Does that mean it'll happen? I can't say that for sure. It certainly seems like that is a talk that's been going on for a couple of weeks. But look, like I've always cautioned, man, can't just say the Padres think something. There are opinions here, and we'll see what happens. We saw that we've seen the tussle with the catcher, and Luis Campusano has been at the center of it, but we've seen the tussle for 3 years. And, if nothing else, this is proof that AJ Preller lets his manager make personnel decisions on a lot of things.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like Mike Shilt's the roadblock here, even though, he doesn't make personnel decisions per se. It seems like he's kind of putting his foot down maybe on this, and he's going to maybe get his way here.
To a certain extent, that has been the case. And then it is up to the general manager who's in charge of baseball operations at some point to, say, we're going to go with this. And they work together on it. It's not like, we're going to do this. And at the end, it's this big shouting match and no one agrees with anyone. I mean, Mike Shildt is the one who talks about it all the time. He came in after watching for 2 years, two guys who didn't get along. So, he's the one who talked about just because you disagree doesn't, when you leave the room, everybody's on the same page. And so eventually it has to get there if, Martin Maldonado, and it's hilarious. Every time it was late last night, and I was going to go through and do a chart on the number of times he's been in an 0 for 12 and then comes a home run that helps them win a game. Or last night was in a 0 for 11 and then came to 2 hits that helped them win a game. Just every time you're just this guy can't be any worse. Then he, comes through with I'm not saying that's what's going to save him, but it certainly doesn't hurt him, right? So I think Campusano's going to get his shot. Now, what do they do elsewhere? And then does Campusano at DH? Because maybe they got a catcher or something like that. I think everything's on the table, but the way that it's been talked about is they cannot keep going like this with these catchers.
Makes sense. I mean, on one hand, the team pitching staff ERA has been really good, easily top 10 in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you could still have a good pitching staff and get more production out of your catchers offensively. Kevin, appreciate you doing it. We'll catch up with you again later in the week, and thanks for hopping on as always.
Right on. Take care.
All right, great stuff from Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort. The Players Place. Jim's back page next. All right, Padres D-backs coming up. We'll have a wrap-up show for you tonight. And as always around this time, which is about 5:48 Pacific, we get to this.
So college football 26, John.
Video game.
The video game. They did their official announcement today.
Okay.
And there are two high-profile figures, coaches, that are not in the game. Did you see this?
I have not seen it.
Can you guess who these coaches are?
Let me guess.
I'll guess one of them right away.
Ryan Day?
No.
The hoodie.
That is correct. Bill
That's
Belichick.
a very good guess.
He was never in Madden either. That's why I knew it was him.
The other, is it like random or not random?
Not random at all.
Dabo.
Nope. You have one more guess?
I'll take one more guess.
It's such an easy name. Like once I tell you, you're like, oh, of course.
It's an easy name. Okay. It's an easy name. Jim Harbaugh, even though he's coaching the Chargers.
No, it's not Jim Harbaugh. Deion Sanders.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Easy name. I agree.
So they are replaced in college football 26. These are the names of the North Carolina and Colorado head coaches. Ready for this?
Yeah.
The head coach of North Carolina is Hector Luna.
Hector Luna?
Yeah.
Wait, Hector Luna, the baseball player?
Just Hector Luna.
Okay.
The head coach of Colorado is Kirkpatrick.
Okay. Kirkpatrick.
Kirkpatrick and Hector Luna.
Hector Luna spent 7 years in the big leagues.
Good player.
Yeah. Hector Luna. Wow.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Do they look
No.
like Belichick and Sanders? They
No,
can't
they
use their
can't.
likeness.
Hector Luna is a black
Hector
man with
Luna.
a mustache.
Hector Luna.
And then Kirkpatrick is a white man with a beard.
Okay. Interesting.
So
That's
they don't
hilarious.
look anything like
So
their counterparts.
they didn't. Interesting that Deion Sanders. All right, they didn't take the check for the name, image, and likeness.
Not surprising because Bill Belichick
Yeah, he's-
never was in Madden ever.
Interesting.
Ever. No.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's not unusual because, like, in NBA, like Barkley hasn't been in NBA 2K in like ever because he wants more money to be in the game and they won't pay it to him, so they just won't put him in it.
It's interesting. All right.
Jordan was like that too for a long time.
Yeah, so
So they're not in it.
they're not in
Well,
the game.
there. I'm not buying the game.
Not buying the game. Not buying the game at all. It is a Monday, John.
It is.
You know what that
Crumble.
Crumble Cookie Monday.
Crumble Cookie Monday. Here are the crumble cookies of the week.
Okay.
We have a Biscoff cheesecake cookie.
Okay.
This sounds delicious.
Yeah.
A Aloha pie cookie.
Okay.
A raspberry cupcake cookie. A brookie cookie.
A brookie.
Brookie.
Tell the gang we're coming.
It's called Pepper Plumbing. Beep, beep.
Right.
It won't even cost you $79.
Now you know what a brookie cookie is, right?
No.
You
What
don't
is
know
it?
what a brookie is?
It's not like a no. Is it a blondie?
Kinda. It's like a chocolate chip
that
cookie
is.
and a
Yeah.
brownie mixed together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've had them.
A molten lava cookie. So like a molten lava cake where you open up the cake and then it like has like
your tongue.
no. It has like the melted chocolate in it. It comes oozing out like
Sounds
a lava.
good. Yeah.
Like lava from a volcano.
Mm-hmm.
A sugar shark cookie. And a milk chocolate chip cookie, which they always have on the menu.
Interesting.
Of the 7 cookies here, which one would you eat the most?
I would like to have a brookie cookie.
A brookie cookie.
Mm-hmm. What
Okay.
about you?
What about you, Brent?
Yeah, I'd probably go with that too. I just never heard it referred to that before.
A brookie. Man, I'm looking at them right now.
You want them all?
I think I might go the Biscoff cheesecake.
Not a cheesecake guy.
I love me some cheesecake.
Well, then
So
you
do
should go
I.
with that.
Brookies are always good though,
Yeah.
because you get the best of both worlds. You get a
Cookie and a brownie.
cookie and a brownie.
Oh yeah, that's why it's called a brookie.
Yes, John. It's brownie
Brownie and cookie.
and a cookie.
I get it.
Brownie and a cookie. So we finish up the back page here. This is more so reality TV show related.
Okay.
Do you watch Love Island?
No.
I'm not even ask Brent because I know he doesn't.
No, I don't. Yeah, you missed it when you were gone. They had auditions for Love Island like downtown. So
Right.
I was in my back
San
page.
Diego, yeah.
They actually, I saw a video of that.
Mm-hmm.
They had it, but Love Island, a very controversial cast member was, spoiler alert, it came out yesterday, so it's fine. She was voted off yesterday. This season has been wild. If you want to watch trash television, this is not even a story. This is just like a PSA. If you want to watch the trashiest television possible, watch Love Island.
Okay.
Does Kristen get into that stuff?
No, not Love Island. That's too trashy.
Huh. Did she get into Bachelor?
Yeah, but that's not trashy.
What do you mean it's not trashy?
Is that trashy like Love Island?
100%.
No, Love Island is like Bachelor to the nth degree, right?
Okay, because it's on Peacock and because they can cuss in it and
Right.
show people having sex, not like
yeah,
actually
that's a
show
big
people having
difference
sex.
than The
but-
Bachelor.
The Bachelor is still trash television.
It is trash. I agree. I completely agree with that. I'm not going to fight that. I agree. We watch more like, I don't know, Bravo, Golden Bachelor. That thing's boring.
That's very
Oh, Bachelor in Paradise is kind of trashy.
Oh, it's very
Near the
trashy.
beach?
Yeah, they're gonna make it like a. I don't. They're coming up with a new season with like a mix between Golden Bachelors and
normal bachelors.
bachelors.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Do we need that?
Finally, Chuck E. Cheese is opening arcades created for adults in 8 states.
Okay.
Coming for you, Dave and Buster.
I was going to say.
Called Chuck's Arcade, a new arcade chain from the folks behind Chuck E. Cheese, is looking to become a destination for older gamers and other, quote, lifelong Chuck E. Cheese fans searching for a place to play Miss Pac-Man or Mortal Kombat.
Lifelong.
Lifelong. I never consider
11, but man.
I don't consider myself lifelong.
Lifelong.
Here are the places that's opening up in Texas, Oklahoma, New York, New Hampshire, Missouri, Georgia, Florida, and Connecticut.
Perfect for our listeners. Fly to Texas.
Well, if
Get
this
to Chuck's.
But here's the thing. If Chuck's is a big hit in these states, guess what? Maybe San Diego one day could get a Chuck's.
I would like to get a Chuck's here.
Yeah, give me a Chuck's, baby.
All right. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and Spotify. Wrap-up show tonight. Back tomorrow at 2 for Brent and Jim. I'm John. Keep it here. San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.
Bye-bye.